Today's tier list content is going to be a tier list for all of the Aghanim shards in Dota. So we're going to be taking all 127 heroes and putting them into one of 5 tiers based on how good their Aghanim shard is. We'll explain the tiers in a second, but for now you should know that this list is based on like the actual practicality of it. So it's buying Aghanim shard and using it in a real game of Dota, or getting it through Tormentor, right? So there's a few different questions that you have to ask in order to determine this. Can the hero fit it in their build, right? Can they farm it up? Can they get the 1400 gold needed to buy it? And are they likely to get it from Tormentor, right? So, there's heroes who don't necessarily want to buy their shard, but if they get it from Torm, it's amazing. So like Witch Doctor or Vengeful Spirit come to mind as like those kinds of heroes. They got other shit to buy. They can't buy it themselves, but they're going to be begging you to do Torm, which is why one of the tiers is, guys, can we Torm please? Though, so not just supports will be in there. There will be a couple of cores, maybe even carries and mids that will be in that tier as well. Matchup frequency matters as well. So in some shards, you really only want them if you're up against certain heroes or in certain game states. Those kind of take a ding because you can't go them every game, but they also are, it's not a bad thing to be an occasional shard. I think every shard should be a matchup specific thing, but I'm not in charge of Dota. Another important note is that I moved all of the heroes that were added after Hoodwink into their correct slots in the alphabetical order, because the comments of people asking where Dawnbreaker was kept bothering me a lot. It's whoever made the tier list, it's their fault, not mine. But I fixed it. I will also be occasionally tabbing out in order to double check some stuff, because 127 Aghanim shard, I could probably name 100 of them plus off the top of my head. A couple of them I'm going to need to jog my noggin a little bit with a little refresher, tapping back into Dota. And then a few I'm going to be like, wait, it does that? I didn't know that hero could do that. And that's just that's how it's going to be. Of course, you might have clicked on this video expecting an Aghanim Scepter tier list. That will be coming out next week. You'll see why. Lastly, this is for 7.40. Shards change. They're one of the most frequent things you'll see tweaked and tuned on heroes. A lot of them were changed in 7.40, which is why I'm going to be alt-tabbing so much, because I need to double check that it isn't something that it used to be. So with all that in mind, we're going to go with Abaddon, and this is already a hero that I'm going to have to tab out to check what it does. So I suspected it was this, but now I am correct. So if you remember, there was a facet where Abaddon was able to reflect the damage off of the shield, and then when it popped, it did the damage again. Or wait, no, maybe it didn't. Whatever. The point is, they basically moved the idea of that facet into his shard. So once you pick it up, 75% of the damage taken by a Photic Shield gets reflected back, which is not very good. The main appeal of that facet when it was in the game was that you could use it in the lane in order to make it extremely frustrating to deal with an Abaddon, and he was able to hit you and you couldn't hit him. And then even if your creeps hit the Aphotic Shield, not you, it still was dealing damage back to you, which was very strong. I know that there's a little bit of Abaddon carry play going on right now at Blast Slam 6. I think it's pretty bad, though. Like, I think even on core Abba, that's not a major element. And it feels bad, but I think we're gonna put Abaddon in the bottom tier for 3 tier lists in a row. I'm so sorry, dude. I called you bitchless a couple videos ago. Alchemist has a pretty good shard, mostly because of the fact that it is a dispel. So it gives you, I think it's called Berserker Potion or something. It's basically a mini form of your ultimate. So it gives you health regen, attack speed, and movement speed. But the main appeal is the fact that it is like a unit target dispel on a reasonable cooldown. It's like a 30-second cooldown or so. And that makes it pretty good. Plus, Alch is flush with cash. So he can buy it in a lot of matchups. It's just that it doesn't... You look at it a little bit and you're like, wow, this is a second ulti, but it's not actually at all. It's mostly just a cool dispel, and you can use it like that. It's a basic dispel, so you can't get out of everything. But being able to just like dispel either yourself or your teammates is a very good thing to do. But it's a spell dispel, so you obviously can't use it to get rid of silence, but that's fine. If the heart desires. Sometimes it's pretty good, sometimes it's eh. Most games you might start saving up for other people's Aghanim scepters before you even go for the shard, but other games you really want to pick it up early. Ancient Apparition is fantastic. This is an amazing, I think it's here, It's funny because this is a character who, like, you really do want it from Torm because AA can't farm, but it's so goddamn good that you will sometimes see AAs save up the 1400 gold in order to get it, usually not at 15 minutes, they usually have a defensive item, or two before they get it, but they beg you for shard because what it does is it turns his ultimate, which is already broken, into a Ravage. It's a 50% duration cold feet when you get hit by Ice Blast. And that sounds like it wouldn't be a huge deal. It's the biggest deal on Earth. It's insanely good. So it is going to go up here. It is one of the best shard upgrades in the game. There's a couple of, like, a lot of dedicated boss 5s have broken shards, and he is one of them. Anti-Mage, they recently changed this. They removed Counterspell Ally from the game because it was shit. Well, it wasn't even shit. It just was, like, impossible to use to an optimal degree because it's so hard. His new one is, so if you don't know, it's like if you reflect a spell, it sends an illusion out. And the illusion, I think, does like 60 or 70% damage. It's like a really good illusion, actually. But it's like something where you're not buying it still. There's a couple games where you might consider it as like a luxury item once you're fully 6-slotted and everything else. But even if you're in a game where you're counterspelling a lot of shit, you're up against like DK, Sven, Venge, those types of heroes, Ogre Magi, you're still not really picking it up early. You're just accepting the counterspell for the base value that it gives you. And then the illusion that it creates is like, So it's going to go here. Even though there's no way you're getting it off of Torm as anti-mage. Arc Warden. This is one that you very rarely see. This is one where I had no idea what it did. So the way that Arc Wardens works is when you drop down Spark Wraith and it activates, it will create a second Spark Wraith that does a little bit less damage that will target something else in the radius. I think it's the second closest unit. So I never see this, like, ever. I think it's like, guys, can we Torm please? But I don't recall ever, like, I don't know why you would ever buy this. Like, Spark Wraith is a powerful spell, but, if it did, like, AoE damage to everything, it'd probably be okay. But it only hits a secondary target for a decreased amount. But it does stack because you have two dudes, because you are double dude. I think it's guys, can we Torm please? But I'm really activating in my mind space in order to figure out how good this is. I've never seen it picked up. Axes is making Battle Hunger stack. I had to double check to make sure it was still that, because it was so broken that I was like, they probably removed it. But no, it is still in the game, and it does pure damage now, which is cool. The reason this is so good, not only that, but it also makes it so that whenever you call people, it will automatically apply Battle Hunger to them, which is also very good. It turns you into a chase monster, because the slow stacks, and it's like a 30% slow, I think, with the talent. So you get, like, 2 of them on someone, and they can't move. And then you get 3, and now they really can't move. They're at, like, minimum movement speed, or close to it. So I think he's up here at best practice. This is an item that you really, really want. You wait until, like, after BKB, right? You want, like, Blade Mail, Blink, BKB, maybe an Ags. But, like, this is an item that you definitely want hard. And you can buy it because you're an Axe and you can farm. He's best practice for sure. Bane's is the AoE Brain Sap. It is an interesting farming tool on a hero who doesn't really farm well even with it. But Bane players do like it because your farmability is so shit that just, like, having AoE Brain Sap is a massive boost to your GPM potential. But also, you're never spending gold to buy it. It's a farming item that you want to get for free off of Torm. I would almost want to call it rolled low. The point of roll low, by the way, is like your team does Tormentor, and, like, unfortunately, you get it. Like, I guess I never really explained the tiers, but you get the idea. You're playing as a Witch Doctor, and you have an Ogre Magi on your team, and you Torm, and the Ogre gets it, and it's like, fuck. It's like, now I have to buy it. No! My Ags, it's so far away. I might have to pop my Gris. Yeah, Abaddon's down here, for a reason. Bane is, like, not quite rolled low, but it's like, usually worse than the other support's Aghanim shard, but it's not quite bad enough to be here. So Batriders is interesting. So what it does is it uncaps the limit on Sticky Napalm, which means that you can, in theory, do infinite damage. But it also means that Sticky Napalm can deal damage to buildings, which is a very strange thing. Allowing Batrider to hit buildings is, to me, very silly. That's, like, a pretty important weakness I feel like he has. And it's not a lot, it's like 25% damage. But it does mean something, It does. It's like Timbersaw Shard, which I'm also going to say is, like, kind of shitty and also goes against his identity as a character. Batrider is in the same category. You know, 20 stacks is so many that, like, by the time you get there, they should be dead. They really should. But if you're up against particularly tanky targets and you're doing the 5 levels in Sticky Napalm strat with like right click offlane Batrider bullshit, it is pretty useful. And I have seen it before and I've seen it do work. And then it also lets you hit buildings as Batrider, which is a funny thing to do. You know, in the scenario where you're going this shard, you're probably going a bunch of right click items. So it sort of works towards both ideas here of like killing heroes and then also hitting towers. It's kind of synergistic with the items you go if you would be playing in a game where you would want shard. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm going to put him in if the heart desires. Beastmaster. Beastmasters is like the dual hawks, I think. And then I think it lowers... You, like, don't care. Like, the thing is, Hawk is such, like, an unreliable stun and, like, such a shitty form of CC that even if you have 2 of them, it's like, eh. It's not that big of a deal. You're just occasionally dealing, like, an annoying stun to someone on the enemy team, and you can't pick who it targets. Like, there's a lot to hate here. I'm gonna put him in rolled low, only because, like, this is another shard where, like, you are 6-slotted and you do not buy this. You do not care. And if you go do Torm and you have a Witch Doctor on your team and your 5 already has a shard and it rolls on Beastmaster, it feels like shit. So we're going to put him in a rolled low. Bloodseekers is very good. Very good. I think it might be like... It's not quite 1400 at 15, but you do go it. Like, you oftentimes go it before BKB. So what this does is it makes your right clicks deal 2% of the opponent's max HP, or maybe it's current HP, as pure damage, which basically means that you are Lifestealer. You are the offensive components of Lifestealer's innate built into Bloodseeker. Obviously, you don't get the healing. Well, you do, but you get it a lot later when they die. So it doesn't completely usurp Lifestealer's role, but being able to become this insane tank buster while also dealing like, your kit is almost entirely physical and pure damage, which is a really cool thing to do, unless you're going, like, I guess Radiance deals magic damage, and I think that's better for him right now. You could go Dagon Bloodseeker, which is based, but I don't think it's particularly good. I think it's in best practice, but, like, it's close. It is really close to being up here. It's so goddamn good. Bounty Hunter is the Shadow Blade effect. So you can basically cast your Invis on one of your allies, and they get it, which is cool. It's fine. The thing is, like, if you're playing as Bounty Hunter, the enemy team is going to have smokes and dusts and sentries and, like, other ways of countering invisibility. So while it sounds broken to, like, be able to give your teammate a Shadow Blade proc, basically, it's also not really that good because of the fact that having that happen guarantees that he has a Bounty Hunter on his team already. So I think it's like, but it's not useless, and, like, it can be good. It's better to think of it as more like a Mirana Moonlight Shadow. It's like a single cast of that, rather than... And you don't advertise the team that you're Moonlight Shadowed when one of your cores decides to go hit a creep wave. It's not bad, but, like, it's fine. It's Bounty Hunters don't buy this. They buy the dumbest shit you've ever seen and get away with it. Dude, there are items in the shop that only Bounty Hunters can see, bro. They're buying Medallion of Courage in current patch. Brewmaster. So Brewmaster basically allows him to give his innate to one of his teammates, and it's a maxed out version of it, I think. I'm not 100% sure if that means, like, maxed out with the level scaling or just the ideal numbers for it. Like, you don't slow yourself down. You're just always sped up. I haven't seen it because I've seen very little Brewmaster in the current patch. I really don't know. It's too new and it's on a hero that no one plays. No offense to the Brewmaster players. I know you guys are very loyal to your guy. I'm going to put it here as a courtesy, but I don't know. There's going to be a couple shards that I'm, like, really curious about if they're good or not, and I guess we'll have to learn along the way. Hairball is pretty good. I think it's, like, sort of underutilized. The thing about, what's this dude's name? Bristleback. The thing about him is, like, you really need to chase items like crazy in order to keep up your sort of tempo and, like, tank gameplay. So being able to set aside 1400 gold in order to buy an Aghanim shard is not always a very practical thing to do. But the reason that Hairball, or whatever it's called, is so good is because the radius when you cast this is insane. The animation makes it look like it would be, like, maybe the size of Slardar Crush or something, but it's not. It's the size of Ravage. Like, it is enormous. And the reason it's so big is because Bristleback is actually able to cast it in front of him, and the AoE is so massive that it will hit people behind him, so he doesn't have to turn around in order to cast it. That's why the radius is so big. But like seriously, like turn quick cast off and go look at how big this ability is. It's nuts. And it jumpstarts the squill or the squill spray. It jumpstarts your stacks. If you go with Aghanim Scepter, it's kind of like a little mini Ags in a way because you're hitting them with multiple quill stacks right off the bat with the press of a single ability. And it also puts the goo on them. So I think it's very good. I think it's a little bit underutilized, and it's hard to fit in his kit, but it's very good, and he can farm it. So it's going to go in if the heart desires. This is another one I had to tab out. Broodmother's Aghanim shard makes it so that she gains bonus damage of Insatiable Hunger, 4 seconds of bonus damage every second for the duration. 4%. 4% of bonus damage every second. It's weird. It's worded in a weird way, but like you just gain growing damage as it goes on. It's like kind of bad. The thing about Brood is like her ability to man-fight is in a very binary state. You're relying on Insatiable Hunger, so you need to have that active, and then you also have Incapacitating Bite. And if the enemy doesn't have a way to deal with Incapacitating Bite, you lose the man-fight. If they do have a way to deal with it... Wait. I don't know what it is about Broodmother that's giving me a stroke right now. Don't rephrase that sentence in the comments. Broodmother, it's bad. It's bad. If they have an MKB, or they're willing to pop BKB, or they have a Bloodthorn that they're able to put on you, you lose the man-fight. This shard is not going to help you. You know, it does help in the numbers game because of the fact that, like, Insatiable Hunger gives lifesteal, and then bonus damage means you're also healing more. So it helps you win the man-fight in multiple ways, but it really just comes down to whether or not they're hitting you. Because Incapacitating Bite is such an insane ability. I think it's pretty darn bad. And if you roll... First off, no Broodmother has ever helped kill a Tormentor. That's the first thing you need to know. So they don't deserve it if they ever do get it. And then you would much rather have a shard on pretty much any other hero you'd have on your team. Centaur Warrunners is like very good. It is extremely good. I almost want to put it up here. Do I put it up here? So if you don't, the way that it works is when you cast your W, Double Edge, depending on the number of heroes you hit, you gain a stack that gives you, I think it's like 14%. It's some awkward number that makes you know that Valve had to nerf it, of your strength as bonus strength. So if you have like 100 strength and you hit someone with your W, now you have 114. And you can stack it up to 5 times. So sometimes you will see a Centaur Warrunner just have like 10,000 HP in the middle of a fight because they have a heart and a couple of other strength items. And they're impossible to kill. You know, the saving grace of this is the fact that they didn't start with the 10,000 HP. So, like, let's say they got down to maybe 2,000 by the time they got all their stacks off, so you really only have to deal with a 5,000 HP Centaur. But, like, think about how stupid of a sentence that is. So, it's very, very good. The problem is it's hard to get multiple stacks in one go, because the radius is weird, and in late-game teamfights, people are very rarely clenched up that tight. Because it's also not around you. It's in like an orb in front of you. It's a weird radius for Double Edge. But it is a pretty great shard. Anything that gives Centaur a shitload of strength for that little gold has got to be good. So best practice. Chaos Knight. So this still is the thing where when you cast Chaos Bolt, it creates an illusion. And I think this can be affected by the thing that multiplies your illusions as well, which is quite good, because that basically turns it into a Manta style. The illusions aren't as strong, I don't think, as your ulti illusions, but they're good enough that you can, like, throw it on a range creep when you're passing by, or, like, use it to farm. You can use Chaos Bolt to farm with it. And it just makes the stun better. And, like, Chaos Bolt is already a very, very good spell. I think it's if the heart desires, but there's a lot of games where you really want it, because it's just an insane DPS increase, and it also allows you to, like, solo kill people instantly without necessarily popping your ultimate, which is important. You combine this with, like, the armor reduction from the W, and maybe you pop Manta. It's great. Chen. This one allows you to take ancient creeps, which is so goddamn broken. I think it's up here. Actually, you will see Chen players screaming to take the Torm if they don't buy it themselves. You know, the hard part is, like, Chen actually can farm, but he wants a lot of items. He wants, like, Holy Locket, he wants Guardian Greaves, he might want other defensive tools. Sometimes you see Urn on Chen these days because that item is broken and Valve is like pretending not to see it. I think it's up here because it gives you, like, think about buying this kind of effect on another hero is Helm of the Overlord. Helm of the Overlord is like one of the most expensive items in the entire game. And Chen just gets a very similar effect for 1400 gold and upside. So he's going to go up here. He's going to go up here. So Clinkz, his shard is still burning Barrage. Funnily enough, when you go to the hero tab and you look at him in the like view menu, it's still listed as like a new ability. There's a little blue bar that's like new ability, burning Barrage, and it's like, dude, we've been new about burning Barrage. It's not new. It's a very good farming item. Lord knows he can farm it up very quickly. This is oftentimes, I think it's up here actually, because he actually is one of the heroes where like you will stop what you're doing. You will stop buying a Mithrilheimer for your Desolator in order to buy it at 15 to help you buy the Mithrilheimer again. And it gives you that really cool ability to like pop out of invisibility, obliterate a creep wave, and then just skedaddle away like a thief in the night, which is a very good thing to be able to do. Plus, again, in certain matchups, like illusion-based heroes, crazy damage. Clockwerk's jetpack is a fucking meme, and I am tired of people telling me that it is good. It is not. I don't think it's ass. I don't think it's complete ass. You know, flying movement is very good, but flying movement that is like super clunky to control, it works like a Pangolier ulti. You have to steer. So, you know, there's some. It's the least subtle thing you could do on a hero who really wants to sit in the trees and hope everyone forgets about him. So we're going to put him in Guys Can We Torn Please. There's going to be a lot of heroes in this tier, by the way. Crystal Maiden is also kind of in this tier. The thing about her is her ability to farm means that you're sometimes picking it up early. Well, actually, we're putting it in If the Heart Desires, because first off, she oftentimes does buy it herself. What this does is it creates a clone with a burst of movement in the direction. I think you go forward these days. When they first added it, you would wave dash backwards, which was stupid. I don't know why they thought they tried to make it cool, but it just made it really awkward because if you're running away, you have to turn around, do it, and it makes it worse than running away. Let me go back to explaining what the hell it is. It makes a little frosty snowman of CM herself, and then it can either take damage from enemy sources, or she can hit the Q on it, and it will cast Frostbite on everything in nearby AoE. Frostbite, of course, a very, very good farming tool. So you can make like a stack, do this, use your Q, and then everything dies, and you get a bunch of gold. Unfortunately, if you're playing a CM, that means that you also have CM's right-click. So if you have to do some right-clicks, or God forbid you get mud golems, you're going to be there a while, but that's fine. It's very good. Plus, it also gives you a burst of movement speed during your ultimate, which is a very nice thing to have. Darkseer. Darkseer's shard gives him the trail behind units affected by Surge. The thing about it is, like, the trail makes it so that you can find him if he's going through trees. You can, like, track him based on where the trail goes. The thing is, there is an alt cast to turn it off. So this is a shard that comes with a turn off button. I think there might be some room to like buy it as a farming item, or like, and it allows for some funny things. But the thing is, like, when the Darkseer surges away, you either kill him instantly or you don't kill him. There's very little times where you're like trying to chase him. It's a bit of like a puck experience. And if you do chase him, you know, you might be using Force Staffs or Blink Daggers, in which case you don't really care about like landing in the surge. And it just doesn't, the numbers aren't good. It's pretty bad. Any ability that has to come with the option to turn it off is not great. Well, that's an untrue statement. But in this case, you're buying something that you can actively choose not to use, which is stupid. Split Shot is a very good spell, and you can turn that off. Dark Willow. Cursed Crown will create a bunch of bramble mazes around the target. Super annoying. Super annoying, because it basically means that, like, if you can't dispel Cursed Crown, you are going to be stunned not just for the duration of Cursed Crown, but you can't move until the brambles stop. I recently played against a Dark Willow who used this on me, and they died. And then after the Cursed Crown, I had to mash the stop key because I had like 1 HP and just wait for my Blink Dagger to be available so I could blink out. And the whole time I was like, oh god, don't move, don't move. It's good. It's good, but it's like you're a Dark Willow and you're either doing shenanigans with like your Aghanim Scepter, in which case you're not buying this shit, you don't care, or you're like a pause 4 or pause 5 Dark Willow, in which case you have better shit to buy. So I think it is, guys, can we torn please? Dawnbreaker. This makes her spell immune during Starfury and she can move, which is it's a pretty good thing to do. The way that you deal with Starfury, I think it's up here actually, it's very, very good. The way you deal with Starfury usually is you wait for her to start doing it, and then you hit her with a stun or like a very brief silence or a hex or some shit like that, and And this basically means that you can no longer do that, and damage is going to come out. Because, like, are you really going to use Abyssal Blade in order to stop a Dawnbreaker mid-Star Fury? You're not. And it's very good. In coordination with her ultimate, it allows her to make that super bombastic entry that no one can really mess with. Her ultimate, because she's not here, so you can't do anything to her, unless you're a Nyx. And then the Star Fury is just a ridiculous amount of physical damage that also heals people. So Dazzle's Shard is, like, not bad. It makes it so that you can cast your ultimate while you're stunned, which is interesting. But notably, it's only when you're stunned. So if you're silenced or you're hexed or anything like that, you still can't do it. The reason it's really good is because with Dazzle, you know, you want to be able to, like, chain stun him and kill him before he's able to do all of his hullabaloo and his malarkey. But because he's able to pop his ultimate, that means he can shallow grave himself. So he can actually, like, get all of his spells off, or at the very least, he can shallow grave someone else, pop all the spells, and die. Which isn't ideal. Dazzle isn't really the kind of support where you can mash your keyboard and hope it works out. You want to be alive for the majority of the fight. So you Nothel Projection out, and you shallow grave yourself, and then you hope something good happens. And I think that is good. It protects you from those specific circumstances, and then if heroes are bursting you, like an Ursa blinks on you with Skull Basher and bashes you, you gotta be pretty quick to do that. You can't slouch. The thing is, if you do, then the Ursa is sitting there with his pants down, and it's like, well, and hopefully your team is nearby. You know, most Dazzles tend to not be lone rangers, but what can you do? Pretty good on core Dazzle. If you're playing him as a mid, you kind of have to go this just to prevent ever possibly being bursted. But I think on balance, it's guys, can we Torn, please? Death Prophet. Death Prophet's upgrades Spirit Siphon in order to make it a fear. It sort of has the problem of, like, when you Spirit Siphon someone, you want them to be close to you, and, like, you don't want them in melee range, but you don't want them running away. And this makes them run away. The thing is, it also means that Spirit Siphon can be used to disrupt channeling ability. So I think it's guys, can we Torn, please? But it's not, it's like kind of, it's a bit self-defeating in that capacity. A little bit, it has kind of the same vibe as Terrorblade Aghanim Scepter, but we can talk about that one next week. Disruptor. Ass. The Thunderstrike barely does anything in the first place. Like, even before, you know, it provides vision and it allows you to time glimpse, and it can be used to cancel blink daggers, and, like, that's cool. But keep in mind that the ability is like a magical nuke that doesn't do magical damage. Like, or it does, but it freaking tickles. So who cares? Who gives a shit? It's very bad. You get this on Torm, even as Disruptor, and it feels awful because of the opportunity cost of someone else getting it. Being able to ground target it, by the way, I don't understand what the point is. It's been in the game for so long that I'm certain that Valve has, like, an intended play pattern for putting Thunderstrike on the ground. I don't know it. If you could tell me what it is. Like, is it for dewarding? Like, is that it? Because you already have Kinetic Field. You don't need a second option to do that, really. Or a lower committal option to do it. It also increases the strike count by, I think, 1. Which is like, who cares? Doom. Doom's Shard makes it so that his Scorched Earth basically has 60% lifesteal. But only on that ability. And it will heal you for that. And that's cool. It's not a huge deal. The Scorched Earth does do, like, a meaningful amount of damage. The thing is, like, and it's multiplied because it's hitting, you know, potentially 5 heroes at once, which is great. And it keeps you alive. The thing is, you aren't casting it more than once in a fight. And then 60% of it is, like, it matters. And Doom is kind of tanky. Like, it's not ass, but it's like you want so many other, like, Doom wants so much shit. You know? And the thing about Doom is, like, you wind up getting jump scared by your own shopping list because you see, like, someone has a perseverance on them, and you're like, well, gotta drop whatever I'm doing to build a Heaven's Albert to pop that Lincoln's that's gonna come out in, like, 10 minutes. So it's very difficult. But it's not terrible either. I think it's guys, can we Torn, please? Yeah, it's gonna be there. I'm gonna move. I never move people in the tier list once I put them there. I'm gonna move Dazzle up to If the Heart Desires now that I'm thinking about it more. It basically turns, it's like a boof version of Oracle ulting himself is what you're capable of doing, but you can do it while stunned, which is something Oracle can't do. Dragon Knight Shard is Fireball. You throw it on the ground. It sounds like it would be a farming ability. It is not. What it mostly is for is when you're sieging tier 3 and you drop it down where the creeps spawn so they instantly die. Except they don't even instantly die. You still have to, like, tank them for a little bit as it grinds them down. It just doesn't do very good damage at all. I think it's pretty bad. There's, like, very few circumstances where you actually want it. If I remember correctly, it has worse numbers than the Ancient Black Dragon, who has basically the same ability. That's pretty ass. You don't buy it, and you don't want it off Torm, so it's rolled low. Drow Rangers is quite good. This should be an essential part of your Drow Ranger build. It's not quite up here, but what you get for using it is insane. So you get high ground vision, which is amazing, which means that you can see over trees if enemies are below you, which is quite relevant. It buffs your multi-shot. It increases your range of multi-shotting, increases your attack range, and most importantly of all, it gives you True Strike. And that's an ability that, like, Drow Ranger doesn't already necessarily need, because marksmanships have True Strike. But now you have a way of making every single attack have True Strike. The downside to it is you can't move, but, like, you can plan around that. Like, just don't get Pudge hooked. Like, wait for Pudge to miss a hook and then pop this and then take a tier 3 in, like, 8 seconds. The uptime is also not great, but it is still genuinely one of the best. Like, you oftentimes go this before BKB on Drow, which I think is the symbol of being a god tier Ags for a carry. Not god tier, it's not up here. Oh, the other thing is if you have Vantage Point Facet, this will activate Vantage Point, and now you're dealing 30% more damage in case your multi-shot didn't hit hard enough already. Best practice, I think. So Geomagnetic Grip buff is good for Earth Spirit. Lord knows you don't really buy this on core Earth Spirit. The only time you would want it is on support Earth Spirit. I guess you really only play on support these days. You know, it's not terrible, but, like, so it increases, I think, the cast range and then the movement speed of allies when they're pulled by Geomagnetic Grip. And that's all it does. It just lets you pull your allies better. Which is good. It's not a bad thing by any means, and it combos with his Aghanim Scepter, right? There's a lot to like there. It turns it into a pretty good defensive ability, kind of like a Force Staff, but they're always facing you. And it's 1400 gold. I'm starting to argue myself into it being in a higher tier. You're happy to get it off Torm, but you're not going to buy it. Earthshaker. They recently changed his, didn't they? They didn't so much as change Earthshaker's shard as they did remove a component of it, which is being able to walk along the fissure. So it will still send Aftershock throughout the fissure, so your dick vibrates when you're playing as this hero still, which is cool. But that's kind of all it does. The thing that makes it good is your ability to, like, farm creep waves from a million miles away, and then also continue the chain stun theme of the hero. If you're playing as a mid, I think you kind of need it. I think it's like if the heart desires. If you're playing as a position 4, though, it's like, whatever. It also kind of results in that weird play pattern of trying to time the impact of your W along the ground to trigger Aftershock as the stun from your fissure ends, which is a weird thing. So I think he's in if the heart desires. But if you're a core player, it's like, cool. You really need it. Elder Titan's Shard is what allows him to appear in place of his ghost when you cast Stomp, which is good. It's basically, it turns it into a extremely long-range potential initiation tool. The issue is that it's attached, like, you need to use Hoof Stomp in order to do it, and Hoof Stomp is, like, not that great of a spell. You know, when you combine it with his Aghanim Scepter that makes him spell immune for 1,000,000 years, it's pretty great, but that is only for core. Support Elder Titan doesn't necessarily want to be there. He just wants the ghosts to be there in order to produce their magic resistance with natural order. So we're going to put him in Guys Can We Torm Please? But if you're playing as a core Elder Titan, it is it's like best practice for him. I think we're going to put it in If the Heart Desires then. We're just going to split the difference and put him right in the middle. So Shard for Ember Spirit grants his innate to his remnants, which is basically like a mini radiance that he has all the time. I think it also... I think it's like if a hero dies, it refreshes a charge. I think it's pretty good. Like, the current way that you play Ember with Changang is you're going to be throwing those out in the middle of a fight all the time. So being able to just deal that much damage for fun, for something you were already going to do anyway, is pretty good. The thing is, you will go BKB before you go in. So it's not insane, but it is very good, and it makes it a pretty potent farming tool as well. As if that spell wasn't good enough already. Enchantress is Sproink, which sends you back. It's like a boof-ass Hurricane Pike, and it lets you hit multiple units. You can go over impassable terrain. You can use it to escape whatever you want. It's not bad. I'm not 100% sure. I did recommend you buy it in the MMR scam video, but if you're playing as a support, there's like other defensive items that are better that you would probably rather have. And there are times where it is straight up worse than Force Staff. You know, earlier I talked about how Crystal Maiden's Shard, when they added it, made her go backwards, which made it very awkward. And Enchantress's Sproink still has that issue. So, in that capacity, I think we're going to put her in If the Heart Desires, because it's very similar to like Hoodwink, the recoil jump back that Hoodwink has with her ultimate. If the Heart Desires, I think. That might be slightly overrating it, though. You still go Hurricane Pike anyway. You buy a better version of this, no matter what. And there's an item in the game that is incredibly synergistic with her kit that she wants to buy, and Shard delays you from being able to buy it, so it goes here. Enigma's is pretty bad. It's been a little bit since we've had a rolled low. So it buffs the stun duration of Malefice, and it spawns an Enigma Eidolon next to the target whenever it gets hit. But like that's not a big, like those are just sort of effects that like you can round down to normal Malefice. Like it's not that big of a deal. And if anything, it's like food. It can be food, and it's bad against Earthshaker because the Eidolons count for Echo Slam. It's going to go here and rolled low. You don't want to see this picked up via Tormentor. Faceless Voids is really good. It is very, very good. I think it's like, I'm going to put it up here, even though you don't get it at 15 minutes, but it's still so goddamn good that you have to go it. Time Walk's like weakness is the fact that it is sort of stubby, especially when compared to a lot of other carry mobility tools like Anti-Mage's Blink or Waveform from Morphling. The range is not good at all. This makes the range very good, and then the ability to backtrack from it means that you can do some really silly shit. Right now, support Faceless Void with Time Zone is starting to be a thing at Blast Slam, and that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. I don't want to do MMR scam support Void. I would sooner play Slasher's Way, where I'm running around with healing salves and a mechanism. Guardian Greaves is also in the meta right now, so maybe it's the time. But yeah, this is such an insane upgrade to a mobility tool. It's basically like turning your ability into one of the planks. It's not quite as good, but it makes up for it with expanded utility. And then the way that it interacts, like you can queue in, pop time dilation, and come right back out. So Faceless Void Shard, I think, is a top tier. You go with every game you play him. Grimstroke Shard turns Inkswell into a Dispel and buffs the numbers, and having access to a Dispel is very good. You know, the problem is like Grimstroke's Aghanim Scepter is so insanely good. Borderline broken. It might be an S tier when we do the Scepter rankings next week. This is like a very, it just gives a Dispel, and that's cool. That's really all it is. You don't buy it for the buff numbers on Inkswell. You just buy it because of a Dispel. You know, that's a good thing to have, though. Gyrocopter Shard is funny. Even if you're not keen on it, which I'm not particularly keen on it, you don't go it if you're playing core Gyro, and support Gyro is dead. But like, I hesitate to put it in rolled low, because a lot of the rolled low is like shards that don't do anything. I think it's a Guys Can Be Torn, please, but it's like borderline. His shard, in case you don't know, makes it so that when you cast Missile as Gyrocopter, it will basically have a rocket barrage coming out of the missile with expanded range. I think, well, it doesn't prioritize the target of the missile, but like, it's in the direction towards them in front of the missile. And it can deal, if they run away like an idiot, I've seen there's like a gif on Reddit of like a Wind Ranger using Wind Run to run away from it while staying in rocket barrage range and just takes like 1800 damage. Like, it's one of few abilities in Dota that can, in theory, do infinite damage if you keep running away from it for long enough, which is funny. But that doesn't make it good. So I'm gonna put it in Guys Can Be Torn, please. And it is, as carry Gyro, it is rolled low, for sure, but it's very funny. All the 6 Gyrocopter support players keeping the dream alive. You guys, I'm so glad you have this funny tool. Huskar's Shard makes it so that Inner Fire slows, and then also heals him by a little bit. It's really nothing special. I think it's rolled low. I think so. A lot of times when you're playing as Huskar and you do your combo, you're queuing in, or you're using your ultimate to go in, and then you're hitting Q right after. And if you have an Aghanim scepter, the movement speed slow literally doesn't fucking matter. Like, it doesn't matter at all. And then being able to heal yourself slightly is like, it's not very much. It's like 50% spell lifesteal and only on your Q, which doesn't do that much damage. So I think it's down here when rolled low. You really don't want to take Torm and have your Huskar of all heroes doing this. Bonus points if he's dead to Roche while you do it. Hoodwink, who absolutely comes after Huskar in alphabetical order. Hunter's Boomerang is very good. Applying like spell-oriented spell amp is a very strong thing to do, and the fact that it impacts not just herself, but also her allies is also quite good. That's really all I have to say. You can do some funny combos. Hoodwink can instantly kill you forever. Invoker. He's hard because he has 3 different ones. So it's EMP Pull. That shit is... Ugh. I hate it so much. EMP Pull is such a strong thing to be able to do. The other one is... you go Ghost Walk and you get the damage that would be dealt by Ice Wall, I think, in a radius around you. And it's annoying because the radius is huge and Invoker is like fast when he does it. And then the Exhort one is Sunstrike leaves Forge Spirits, which has shades of the Eidolons being spawned by Malefice. The only really good one of those is the EMP Pull, which is very good. I've seen some invokers, like support invokers, do the thing where they buy a shard and then they just like hang around you in Ghost Walk, and it's like, pop dust, pussy, you won't. And you do, and he said the tree's a billion years away. I think it's in If the Heart Desires, but like this is really just about like the EMP pull. Other than that, you don't go it. The other two are like, okay, I'm gonna put him here. This is EMP pull. Guys, can we do Torm, please? Is the Ghost Walk shenanigans, and then the Forge Spirit one is like rolled low, I think. Ideally, when you hit someone with Sunstrike, they fucking die, so it doesn't matter. Io's Shard is pretty bad, actually. So what it does is when Io is tethered to you, if an enemy is between that tether, it deals like damage and slow. And this makes it so that Io himself is healed by the damage and slow. It's like 50% lifesteal for that specific thing, which is pretty bad. And then like, oftentimes when you're like, the problem I have with making tether do things to the opponent is it requires one of two situations. The first is that like you're man fighting and then the IO is just like, don't mind me, and like gets around them in order to be behind them, which is an awful thing for an IO to do. The second is for you to voluntarily go behind the enemy hero and like put them closer to your IO, which is also a bad thing to do. And this takes that shitty idea and like makes it a key component of the hero. So you don't want to do it, right? Like if the tether damage and slow is having a big impact, something has gone horribly wrong and needs to be rectified immediately. It's enrolled low. You want your other support to get it off Torm. Jakiro, not bad. Not bad. It allows you to use both Liquid Fire and Liquid Frost in the same attack, which can be very impactful in fights. If you go the 175 attack range talent at level 10, you throw it on a hero, and now they're slowed, they can't attack, they're taking damage over time, and if they're like in macro fire, they're instantly burning to death, and then you throw your Q on them, and then they're burning to death anyway. And then they really can't move. It's good. The problem with it is like, you can't use Liquid Frost on towers, so it doesn't help you siege, which is a really important component of those abilities, but like, that's okay. That's fine. You're not really complaining about anything. It's funny because they will actually go on cooldown when each of the attacks goes off. So there is like the tiniest delay between one of them being available and the other one not. But the way it's sort of lined up is if one is off cooldown, the other one will be off cooldown by the time you use the first one. Liquid Fire, I think, goes first. Does it? I don't know. Juggernaut. Man, they keep trying to make Magic Jug work, and it don't work. It increases the radius, and it makes it a 35% slow, which is not bad. Those aren't bad things, but like, it's not enough to make you want to buy it. This is rolled low. Valve has, I think it's called Blade Storm, is the facet that like allows you to crit on your spin, which is terrible. It's really bad. I think it has one of the biggest win disparities in like all of Dota. Like if you pick Blade Form, you lose, or Blade Form, you win, and if you pick Blade Storm, you lose. I mean, you lose with both. Now Juggernaut's kind of shit. Another 4 years of him being ass because he got picked at TI, and that's a huge no-no. It's very bad. In order for magic damage Jug to ever be a thing, Valve has to like make it scale again the way that it used to off of his attack speed, but it also needs to be able to scale increased on damage. Or just give him his old shard back, where when you spin, you will occasionally right-click someone who's in it. I loved that version of Jug. That shit was tight. I used to go Maelstrom, Shard, Basher, and then just run around spinning on people, and it was dope. But Valve are cowards. So Caudle, kind of similar to Invoker, has 2 shards, and it basically gives you an extra charge on whichever facet ability you have. So if you went Recall, you get 2 Recall charges, which is pretty strong. And then if you have Solar Bind, which 90% of Caudle players go, it might be even higher than that, it might be like 98%, you get 2 charges of Solar Bind, which is cool. They don't really stack. You can't cast Solar Bind on one dude twice. You have to cast it on 2 dudes at the same time. But that's still a good thing to have. I don't think you go it, and you certainly don't go it on... Well, do you go it on mid-Caudle with Solar Bind? Maybe you do. I don't know. We're going to put it in, guys. Can we Torn, please? The Recall one is probably better overall, but no one goes Recall, and therefore the Solar Bind one is more important to judge, and I don't consider it to be that amazing, but it is still good. Unfortunately, you can only Dagon one person at a time, and E-Blade one person at a time, so... So Kez Shard, which I believe they recently added, increases the total bleed cap on Kazarek Katana to 1,000, which you will never reach. I think it's something that like you just don't get. Like 1,000 bleed damage is not something that is going to happen really. So it's effectively unlimited bleed damage, which is insane. And then I think it also allows you to, if you do the impale from behind, does it stun? It stuns. It's weird, man. Kez is another hero where, like, look, you've got 2 Falcon Blades. You're already running out of... You need to buy shit. Like, and you need to buy big items. You need, like, Desolator, BKB, and then you also need, like, Butterfly, Manta. Like, you need so much shit. I think it's, guys, can we do Torn, please? But, like, if you're a Kez player, tell me if I'm wrong. You can smack me over the computer. Kunkka's Shard is situationally good but funny all the time. It's another ability that is really wonky because it pushes them away, but it spawns behind him. So if you look away and then use Tidal Wave, it'll actually suck them in. You can slurp your foes as Kunkka. I think it's guys can do Torment. You don't hate to have it, but it's like a weird positioning ability, and like you kind of just use it on its own for value. You're not using Tidal Wave to push them into Torrent. Like no one does that shit. Maybe Attacker, but he does not. He is the Spider's George of Kunkka, and you're not allowed to use him as an example of what this hero does and doesn't do. Largo, pretty good. I think Largo is like best practice. He has an amazing shard. So what it does is if you put a buff on one of your teammates, that buff is replicated on you. So the obvious ones are stuff like, Earn. You heal your teammate, and then it heals you also, or Spirit Vessel, I guess. But the other ones are stuff like Lincoln Sphere. So like you can have 2 Lincoln Spheres on your team, because it has 100% uptime. And then if you have like CDR of some sort, you can actually have 3 Lincoln Spheres active on your team at the same time. Briefly, very briefly, but you can do it, and that's crazy. It also applies to Lotus Orb. It has an exception for Wind Waker, right? So if you Wind Waker your ally, it won't Wind Waker you too, which is good. That's kind of what you want, actually. So I think he's up here. It is crazy good. It has a lot of synergy with his game plan. It's just that like it doesn't do anything with his ultimate, because his ultimate is affecting you all the time. So putting it on other people doesn't matter. It's also not a unit target buff anyway. I think it has to be a unit target buff. But yeah. And your innate extends the duration of it as well. So you kind of have CDR on Lincolns even without buying an Octarine. But it's not really CDR. It's just duration increased, and the duration is 100% by default. Best practice. Best practice, Largo. Get it? Because he's a musician and he practices. And he's the best. Legion Commander. So Legion Commander's Shard, when you buy it, retroactively increases all of your duel damage by 5 per duel. And then it also buffs overwhelming odds in a way I don't care about. I think it is, if the heart desires. The main reason that you buy Shard on Legion Commander is when you lost the game and you want to make it look like it wasn't your fault. So you buy this, and then it's like, look guys, I had a 3-digit number of duel damage, because you have like 105. And you're like, I had over 100 duel damage. It's not my fault we lost, but in reality you only won like 4 duels, or 5 duels, I guess. You know, what it really does is it makes your level 1 duels mean something, because 10 damage is like nothing, right? A level 3 duel is literally the same bonus damage as 3 level 1 duels. Obviously, snowballing and 10 damage matters a lot more at 10 minutes as opposed to 30 damage at 50 minutes. But being able to turn all of those little shitty pooper duels into 15 instead is a big deal. And I always think about that when I'm playing Legion and I get those 10 damage duels. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to get Shard later and this shit is really going to mean something. The overwhelming odds buff is the AoE. I think it increases it by 100. It's whatever. It's fine. Good against illusions, I guess, but you never buy it for that. That's just like a fun little throw-in that Valve did to make it look better. Leshrax is so good. I think it's up here. This makes it so that Split Earth will replicate itself after a brief delay for a total of 3 stuns, and it grows massively in terms of radius. If you haven't seen it yet, like go to demo mode and do grab like a Glipnir and then do Split Earth with Shard, and you're like, wow, it's the whole screen. Like, it's kind of a ravage. It's sort of insane. I think it is very good because of what it does specifically to high ground situations. Because with you don't even need CDR, you can make them overlap. So you have multiple Split Earths running at the same time, obliterating creep waves, making it terrifying to walk up. And then in a teamfight situation, it just adds a shitload to the opponent's mental stack, where they're like, wait, I can't be here, so I have to move. So they move a little bit out of it, but now a bigger one's coming, so they have to move out of it again. So it's like 3 things to worry about in the middle of a fight, and then God forbid he does another Split Earth. So it is, I think, a very good, a great Shard. You know, the only problem is, like, as Lesh, you want to get a bunch of items, so it can be difficult to work into your kit. But I know for a fact that if, like, I'm playing Leshrac and the enemy team just took Roche, I'm buying this, and I'm going to sit on my tier 3 and protect that shit with Split Earth the entire time in a very uninteractive way. Best practice for him. Lich, it's the Ice Spire. It's great. This is another one where, like, you really do demand your team to buy Torm, but you will find rogue Lich players who go, like, blink Ice Spire so they can do the ulti combos and instantly kill enemy heroes that they have no business killing. And it's very funny to see. It's very baller as Lich to, like, pop in and just obliterate a Faceless Void. Or like a Juggernaut, because you have Sinister Gaze. And you can use it homophobically in order to destroy the enemy carry. You know, it doesn't work on every hero, but it can work on quite a few of them. And then Icefire just also has a bunch of sneak utility. One of the funnier ones is you put it up on the opponent's high ground, and then a melee hero comes up, and then you Sinister Gaze them, and you pull them down, and then you have your way with them, which is a very funny thing to do. There's just a bunch of little tips and tricks. You can use it to deward. Like, there's a lot of, like, weird utility with Icefire. So I'm going to put it in if the heart desires. If you're one of those insane crackhead Lich players, though, you can put it in best practice, and I won't disagree. Lifestealer Shard makes it so that when you pop out of Infest, all enemy heroes are affected by a 50% duration open wounds. You know, it's really good when you get Aghanim's Scepter, but, like, most of the time you don't go it, but you're happy to have it. And then in some games it is it's fine. It's not actively shit or, like, useless the way that a lot of these are down here. But you don't usually go it until you're, like, you know, you probably go this before you start, like, selling boots to buy Swift Blink, like that kind of situation where you're slot limited. You buy it before you start, like, buying in your Aghanim's Blessings and stuff like that. So we'll put it in, guys. Can we Torm, please? But you get the idea. Yeah, so Lina's is the Laguna Blade becomes an all-damage barrier, which is a pretty good thing. You know, Lina sort of exists in a bit of a binary state in the sense that, like, she's squishy enough that unless you're going right-click and you have the Satanic and BKB pop to turn, if they go on you, you're mostly dead. But this kind of gives her that wiggle room to be able to just, like, boop, And then if you're also going the supercharged facet, now you have all your stacks, regardless of what you had before. And you have more of them. And then if you are playing as a Corlina and you have the Satanic and the BKB, now you're going to be at full HP by the time they get through the barrier from your ultimate. So there you go. I think it's maybe not glitched. I don't know. It gives you just like the damage that's listed on the ability. It doesn't actually give you a shield equivalent to the amount of damage you deal. I'm pretty sure. So maybe there's a bit small glitch there, but like don't tell Valve. It's fine. Don't tell them. They'll ruin the fun. You don't really buy it though. You don't really buy it. It's a bit like a shit version of OD Ags, which will be stupidly high up on the tier list. Flying. You know, the main reason Lion is good is because if you're passing by a creep camp, you can gas station one of your homeboys, and while also sucking the creep, and you wind up being net neutral on mana, or even up. Basically, direct mana transfer from like the blue ogre into your storm spirit. that's what you're about. The spell immunity doesn't matter a whole lot. The thing is, like, when you pop this, you also can't move. So being spell immune isn't a huge deal. And then it's not like they can't... If you were untargetable, it'd be one thing, because you could use this and stall out to blink out. But you can't do that. So you're kind of just sitting there waiting to die. When the spell immunity is useful, it's delaying your death by a couple seconds. Other than that, it doesn't matter. So I think it's guys, can we Torn, please? Tech against Medusa, because you will not be turned to stone by this snake when she buys her own shard, which will also be pretty high up, and she's coming up soon. Lone Druid. What the fuck does this guy do again? This turns Savage Roar into a Dispel that also gives bonus attack and movement speed. It also is replicated on the Bear if it's stunned, and on Lone Druid if he is stunned, if the other unit casts it, which isn't bad. It takes a good defensive tool and makes it a great defensive tool. But you have 12 item slots to fill, so it still goes down here. You get it off Torm and you're like, cool, but who cares? Again, this is going to be a very crowded tier. Luna. This one's... Back when this was the damage reduction, it was very good. Now it just makes your shitty ability, like, better. It makes the glaives rotate faster, which actually can deal a lot of damage, but until you can start, like, critting and lifestealing off of it, I don't think this ability will ever be good. Make that her Aghanim Scepter, screw it. Or make it her Shard, or something, I don't know. You feel pretty bad about getting it off of Torm. You know, you should never, as a Luna, you should have top net worth in the game, but, you know, it could happen. 50 minutes rolls around and you fall off like a fucking cinder block off of a shipping crate. Lichen Shard is the wolf that spawns in a random lane. It's a very funny farming item because if the wolf gets the last hit, you get it, and it basically gives you like a random... The way you can think of it is like one of your waves is going to be super creeps every 30 seconds. You don't know which one, and it might be in a lane where it literally doesn't do anything, but the fact that you just get like a super melee creep attached to... You could even describe it as a mega if you want. Attaching it to a random wave is like a pretty great thing. And you oftentimes do buy this very early because of the map control and how it plays into Lycan's game plan. I'm slowly beginning to talk myself into doing this. Like, I don't know if it's up here. I think it's here. I think it's best practice, but like oftentimes you do wind up buying it at 15 minutes as Lycan because it is a farming item. It's just the stupidest, most roundabout farming item in the entire game. Nothing quite compares to the stupidity of a Lycan buying it at 15 minutes. You know, it's if you're the kind of Lycan who does that, you're also the Lycan who spams Howl at night because it's global and you're reducing the enemy's armor. And that's funny. Oh, woo! Magnus is the skewer range, and then it also deals damage if they hit shit. You know, the skewer range buff isn't that huge. You get in those situations where you're like, you're really losing the game, but it's like, guys, if I can double skewer them into the fountain, we win. And like, sometimes that is how Dota 2 works. A couple Dota 2 games have come down to situations like that. But the skewer range isn't that big of a deal, and the damage is like, who cares? Why does skewer do damage at all? Like, I don't... It's up there with Sprout as like abilities that are so insanely good, and then Valve is like, what if they were magical nukes too? And it's like, all right. Power creep is one hell of a drug. I don't think that this shard is one hell of a drug, though. I think it's like, eh. It's eh. It's like, it might be top of rolled low. I think it is. I think it is. But like the skewer distance does do something. It's just like it's very similar to me to the Beastmaster, Beast Friend, having two birds rolling around in a circle. Where it's like it's eh. It's whatever. Doesn't really matter that much. Marcy's shard increases the cast range of Rebound and allows her to use it on enemies. And then if she uses it on an ally, both of you get the movement speed buff. It's a Torm. It's a Torm thing. You never buy it. You never buy it. It can be really useful because it, in a weird way, you could say it's a farming item because you can now rebound off of jungle camps in order to take them faster. But it's not something you buy for or you save up for it, and it's really not something you buy on your own. Even as a core Marcy, you have a bunch of other shit to go. You need your Basher. Mars is the ability to spear two dudes on your spear. And then also it leaves the Flaming Trail. The Flaming Trail is really only useful for clearing out waves in a very safe way, but that's something that Mars can already kind of do. It basically means that you can clear out the wave without having to approach it to use God's Rebuke, and by that extension, you're also not using as much mana. You know, you would think that shish kebabbing two dudes is like a rare thing, you know? But it's actually not, because of his ultimate, putting enemies in like awkward positions. And you can always just blink in a way that, like, you know, you set up the billiard shot yourself. It's good. And a lot of Marses really like it. It might be best practice. I'm going to put it up here. Marses really like going this item. And they tend to buy a bunch of mid-game stuff if they're not going for the Venn diagram. So they'll wind up picking it up midway through as like a pseudo farming item. That also has a lot of really crazy teamfight applications. Medusa's is great. Fantastic. It is like a very necessary item in order to fight. So this makes it so that, so back in the day, let me explain the context of it. Medusa's Aghanim scepter used to make it so that her snake would turn all of the targets hit by it into stone. And it was awesome. And then Valve said, no more fun for Medusa players, because if you're going to prevent everyone else from having fun, you shouldn't have fun either. Which, to be fair, very ethical. So now, her shard makes it so that when she is targeted by a unit target spell, it will send out a single target snake that will turn that guy into stone. The reason this is good is because if you're up against a chain stun hero, like a Shadow Shaman, for example, he shackles you, that snake goes out, stuns him, cancels the channel, which is very good. And this applies to pretty much any single target, like, channeled ability. So Pugna ulti is another example of it. There's a couple more, but those are the first ones that come to mind. It's very good. And, you know, if this is used on, like, an OD, for example, you're getting all your mana back. Like, that's great. Skywrath Mage, it really sucks. Plus, it's just like a value stun. Like, Chaos Knight goes on you, and then he's an ulti, and he stuns, and now you know which one is him. Which isn't that valuable for Medusa herself, but it could be valuable to her teammates. You know, you have Split Shot, you don't care. And if you're going up against a CK, you probably went a Mjolnir and an Aghanim Scepter, because you're cool, and you're doing my Medusa build. Maybe there will be some kind of secret way to learn about that in the future. Meepos is Dig. Or Burrow. It's Burrow. There's an important distinction. I can't remember why. No, it is Dig. It is Dig. Because Nyx's Assassin's ultimate is Burrow. Or not ultimate, but what do you get? Oh my god, I'm having another stroke. It's pretty good. The thing about it is, like, it is matchup dependent. This is something that you buy for up against very strong Meepo counters that you would usually have to, like, god tier micro your way out of. But now that you have Dig, you don't have to care about that as much because you have this as an option to avoid it. So, like, Lich Ultimate is a good example. He throws that, you dig all your boys, and now you can hopefully wait out the duration of Lich Ulti, plus it heals you a lot, so whatever damage it already did is okay. And if you have that one command activated, you can literally just mash the button, and all your boys go underground for a little bit. It's good. A little bit of Zerg. A little bit of Zerg. Aghanim Shard on Mirana is the reason that she is able to be played as a rogue core. I think she's actually kind of a legit carry right now, and her shard is a big part of it. So Mirana Shard gives her an additional leap charge, and then she also, after using leap, gets like a 150% guaranteed crit, which from a DPS standpoint, I'm pretty sure averages out to be like a Daedalus. And then, of course, you can also have a Daedalus. So It's very good. The thing is, like, on support Mirana, it's not that good. You just get an extra leap charge, which is nice. But then it enables carry Mirana to be a thing, even though no one is really doing it very much. I'm gonna put her in if the heart desires. But there's like a couple. It's just very dependent on which kind of Mirana you are. But if you are carry Mirana, it's like actually up here because you can use it as a farming item as well, along with your Maelstrom. Monkey King's Shard allows him to appear at the end of his staff whenever he uses Boundless Strike. It is a very annoying get out of jail free card that is only really permissible due to the relatively long cooldown of Boundless Strike. It also puts a, what's the leap that he has? It puts a mini version of that at the end, but like who cares? The real thing is the mobility tool. Because what you can do with this is like if you aren't planning on doing the whole like take a bunch of damage, get Jingu, hit Q button, if you don't need to do that strat, you can use this as a very powerful initiation tool that is decoupled from Tree Dance. And you can also use it, like if you're getting chain stunned, you can just mash the Q button, and like Boundless Strike is a huge ability, so now you're over there, and it's pretty difficult to chase a Monkey King already, and this is like another way that he can get away from being punished for making bad decisions, because that is the theme of Monkey King, is doing bullshit and getting away with it. It's very good. Like, the mobility applications alone make it an amazing shard, and it's something that I think a lot of Monkey Kings should be picking up, like... But you do go it after BKB, but I think you go after BKB in every game. Like, it's not a matchup-specific thing at all. It's amazing no matter who you're up against. Best practice for Monkey King. Buy shard on him. Or don't, actually. Please don't buy shard on Monkey King. Yeah. Morphling's attribute... Yeah, so shard on Morphling allows him to swap attributes while he is stunned, which is a crazy thing to do. And it also just gives him, I think, +5 of strength and agility. Like, this is such a crazy shard. I think it's actually up here. The reason why is because by the time you get shard, you're already in a position where you're not going to be caught out at 1 HP anymore. You have enough stats that even if you're full agi, you have like 1,000 HP. Which, you know, you can still get your flabbers gasted by the enemy team, but also that's enough time where unless they have that insane burst damage, they can't chain stun you. Because you can constantly be shifting. And so, like, they can keep you at low HP. But if you're constantly at 200 health, you're constantly at 200 health. And it's only going to get worse for them when they run out of spells that deal damage. So this is, like, an essential element of Morphling. Plus, it gives you bonus stats. You don't buy it at 15, usually. You want, like, Vlad's Manta, maybe one more item, and then you buy Shard. But if the enemy team is able to, like, you know, blink on you out of nowhere with a Lion or a Shadow Shaman and kill you, and that's happened to you before, you queue up Shard and you never have to worry about that again. It is very, very good. It prevents Morphling from, like, doing the things that Morphling can do, where he just gets obliterated out of nowhere through no real fault of the player. You know, maybe a game sense mistake, but if you get smoke ganked, you get smoke ganked, and this helps make Morphling borderline immune to smoke ganks, which is a very good thing to be as a carry. He's up there. You need to go with this item on him. Every game. Muerta Shard. Also very good. So this gives you, I believe, 30% spell lifesteal when you're in Pierce the Veil, which is already great. The reason that is so good, and we'll talk about the infinite scaling mechanic next, the reason that is so good is because you cannot buy traditional forms of lifesteal on this hero. It is one of her weaknesses. If people buy Blade Mails, she cannot buy Satanics and hope it works out. Because Satanic does not apply to her attacks in her ultimate because it's magical damage. You need to buy spell lifesteal. Satanic gives you, I think, 180% physical lifesteal. Bloodstone gives you like 90. and that's not enough to deal with Blade Mail. Straight up. Especially if they have 2. And you're Gunslinger proccing on both of them, you just kill yourself faster than anything else. You know? And Blade Mail is a long duration ability. This doesn't solve that problem, but it prevents you from instantly killing yourself, and then it also allows you to sort of wait it out after they use Blade Mail and like hit someone else to recover the damage you dealt to yourself, which is great. The second thing that makes it really good is that it introduces an infinite scaling mechanic, which Dota 2 players love. Hooray! The way that this one works is you get 2% spell amp for every kill, or I think maybe assist, that you get during Pierce the Veil. And it's retroactive. So if you already have like 3 kills, you get this, and now you have 6% spell amp. And 6% spell amp is a lot. You know, it's a small number, but spell amp is a very difficult spell to get. And she can get... Muerta's like ability to deal more magic damage based off of improving her right click is a very unique thing. So having access to this kind of spell amp on top of it is even better. Yeah. There you go. Kayasha on the 0. Naga Shard is a sort of Timu version of what her old Aghanim scepter was. When she is singing, all of her teammates have a percentage of their HP and mana restored. I think the mana is at 4% at all levels for some reason, and the HP percentage is 2, 3, 4, depending on, level 6, 12, 18. It is a very nice thing for Support Naga to pick up, though Support Naga is kind of dead right now. As carry, you forget to buy it. I think it's like in... it's not terrible, but it also requires the situation for Naga Sovereign to not initiate the fight with this. It requires the opponents to do, like, a bunch of shit to start busting a move on top of a piece of concrete, or not concrete, cardboard, concrete, sure, whatever, and, like, beat the fuck out of your entire team, and then you use your ultimate in the middle of the fight to reset and then re-engage. And that is a very demanding play pattern to have, especially for a carry Naga. I think it's rolled low. I'm gonna put her in rolled low, but she's like also pretty close to the top of the list along with Magnus here. Usually I'm putting more heroes in the higher tiers as these tier list videos goes on, but in this case, maybe it's the opposite. Nature's Prophet Shard is another one of those shards that you do not get. It's Curse of the Old Growth, which gives you vision and a damage over time effect in an area of trees. When I talked about this in the ability tier list video, the 10-hour long one, people were like, actually, people go this all the time. And then I looked up the Dodo buff stats and I was like, that is demonstrably untrue. I guarantee you that a massive chunk of Nature's Prophet players, like one-trick players in lower MMR, do not know this ability exists. I think it's down here. It's an anti-juke for the trees ability, but like that's not that good. That's not that great of a thing to have. Plus you have Sprout, which grants vision. So like, what do you? I don't know. You can also just drop your treants and like micro them slightly in order to get the exact same effect. He's one of those heroes where if you buy Aghanim's Blessing and a replacement item before you buy Shard. I'm gonna put him in rolled low. It's not that bad, but like, good lord, when do you see it? And it's such a specific effect that's not that good. Treant Protector in shambles, Hoodwink in shambles. Necrophos, this one is 1415. Usually you're still waiting to buy your Radiance if you're going the Radiance build, but like the first thing you're doing with that Radiance is you're saving enough money to buy Shard. On Necrophos, it is such a Swiss Army knife. It is mobility, it is burst damage, it is burst healing, it is a farming ability. It is so good. It's amazing. It's a truly amazing shard. Deathseeker is what it's called. It is a mobility spell. It's a unit target thing. You go to whoever you target. It can be allied or enemy. And then you do a death pulse when you get there. Full numbers. It's great. It is very funny also because it allows you as a Necrophos to do the PA thing where you're like, I need a blank target. Guys, I need a blank target. It's the same thing for like Ricky. The travel time is kind of slow. And like Death Pulse damage in the late game is like not a huge deal. Even the heal isn't a huge deal, but it's a Death Pulse. It's not a bad thing to get for basically free on top of mobility and all that other stuff. Even if it didn't have a Death Pulse at the end, it would still be like okay. Like even if it didn't have that, this would still be a decent spell. Because without it, Necrophos is a very slow little bitch if you don't go the movement speed facet with the Ghost Shroud, which I love that facet, by the way. It's super fun. Night Stalker allows you to have a Capri Sun and some orange slices in the middle of a team fight by eating a neutral, and at night you can eat Ancients. It's a fun farming item, and there are situations, because you have flying movement and you're so fast, it is actually kind of reasonable to like dip out of a team fight, go eat a creep, and then come back. Like, that's a real thing you can do, and it's like 30% of both mana and HP when you do it. So the numbers aren't slacking either. I think it's best practice. I think it's up here. It's very, very good. It kind of sucks because it delays your BKB. That's the problem. But it also helps you farm a BKB, especially at night, because you can chomp down on Prowlers and not let them root you for no... Nyx Assassin Shard applies Break from Vendetta. Highly matchup dependent. There's a couple heroes that fold to Break. That's good. It's useless when you're in Burrow. But being able to have access to a 4-second long break that I believe pierces magic immunity, or spell immunity, or debuff immunity, excuse me, Valve, that's a great thing to have in matchups where that is a great thing to have. That's... Yep. Every shard should be like this, by the way. If I had my way, every shard would just be like, apply a weird status effect on one of your abilities, and then it's entirely dependent on who you're up against. Great shard. Best designed shard in the game. It's a perfect 5 out of 10, the way every shard should be. Ogre Magi. Dog shit. This applies a shield that is similar to Refraction, and then whenever the wearer would take damage, instead one of the charges is consumed, and it blasts a ball of fire, and the ball of fire does no damage. It's like barely enough to cancel Blink. It won't even beat Refraction on its own, one of these fire blasts, and then the incoming damage is reduced by like 60% or something. It does fucking nothing. It feels like shit to use. You can multicast it and put it on multiple people, but it still really doesn't matter. The only circumstance where this is good is if you're up against a hero who is like damage over attack speed like crazy. Like Sven is the only one I can think of, because if you put this on your carry or whatever, Sven blinks on them and attacks a couple times, but like Echo Saber proc 1 attack, they're Mask of Madness, so that's like boom, 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 and then that 4th boom, they're taking damage. And they were taking damage already anyway, just like a reduced amount. So this is like really shitty. I really want them to rework it, because it doesn't even feel right. Like, the idea is like you use Bloodlust and then you throw this on them, Ogre Shard. I don't even know the name of it. That's how bad it is. And I'm not tabbing back into Dota to check, because I'm disrespectful. It's very bad. Do not try to convince me that this is good in the comments. You are wrong. This video does not have a wall of text, nor a desired statement, but, like, if it did, it would be like, comment, Ogre Shard is actually good, and then I would... Bleh. Don't do that, by the way. Or, I mean, you can comment that, but I will not reply with emojis, because, again, I'm disrespectful. Omni Knight, it basically gives Purification a little bit of an echo feature, and that is cool. You can use it to farm when you cast it on yourself. So after, I think, a 2-second delay after casting Purification, a second 50% value Purification is cast on the target again. You get it off Torm and you're happy, but it's whatever. And then if you're playing as a core Omni Knight, you don't really go it because you need a bunch of other items. So, you know, it's fine. It is useful. And having an additional chunk of healing / pure damage can be good. You know, you put it on someone who wants to get up in their business, and, like, that's a significant amount of damage happening all around them. But it's really not that big of a deal. It's definitely not a game changer. Oracle's Reign, which deals damage over time and provides a healing buff. Good for high ground situations. Some shades of Leshrac Shard in here, but it's really not that great. You want it off of Torm, but you don't care that much. You just don't. It's not bad, though. I think it's called, like, Reigns of Fate or something very, like, straightforward. You get it off Torm and it's great, but no Oracle buys this shit. OD. It's a shard that allows people who are affected by gay baby jail to waddle around. And that's great. That's pretty good. The enemy can see you waddle around, which is not good, and the enemy cannot waddle around, so it works in some ways that you want, but not in every way. You are slowed significantly. It's like a 70%. Is it 70% slow? It feels quite slow. It's hard to make distance, and it's not like you can use mobility items, but if you have a Blink Dagger, you can start mashing it, and even if you were affected by a DOT, you can still get out of it, because it's a, what, 4-second long? So it's pretty, or no, isn't it like 3.25 or something? I don't know. The point is you can blink out of it. It's more than 3 seconds. So it's a pretty good defensive tool, but offensively, it doesn't actually give you anything. And OD cares a lot about that. It's fine. An Aghanim Scepter tier list, I am going to complain about this guy like crazy. That shit should not be in the game. But you'll have to wait next week to see. Pangoiler. Curl Up is like, eh. There's shades of Lion here, because it also makes you spell immune. It's actually closer to Dawnbreaker. You know, the big thing about it is that it allows you to turn in the middle of your ultimate. You can just, like, stop on a dime and, like, like, point towards someone. It looks goofy as hell. It looks like, what are the giant balls in Elden Ring that, like, you just ran into you of their own accord? That is what it feels like when the Pangoiler curls up and makes, like, eye contact with you. It's like, whoa, buddy, can we talk about this? And that's funny. I think it's if the heart desires. It really is a pretty specialized thing to be able to do. Um, I think it goes here. You know, the go into it animation if you're not in the middle of your ultimate is much faster. So if Pangoliers are used to canceling their ultimate over and over again to annoy their teammates, they're gonna have some troubles adapting to the cast time of Curl Up, but that's okay. They're silly little buggers anyway. Phantom Assassin Shard is a castrated version of her old Aghanim Scepter. Whenever she gets a kill, all of her cooldowns are advanced by 60%. It is very good. It is a very, very good shard. The reason it's so good is because part of PA's issue is that you go on someone, you like pop at them or you give them a pop in the chops, and then you're just sort of sitting there hanging out for a couple seconds while your W recharges. This prevents that situation. And if you're playing as a carry PA, you go before Satanic, but after BKB. You know, I maybe before or after Skull Basher after your BKB, but it is a very good item to have. It makes it so that you can just sort of like instantly kill multiple people before they really have time to react. And seconds matter on PA, very much so. So it's going to be up here in best practice. You need to go it as a core eventually. Just you go BKB before it, but you have to go it every game because it's universally good. So it goes up there. PL is a Shadow Blade, which is a weird thing for him to have. I say that, but actually it's basically a modern reinterpretation of Doppelwalk from way back in the day, like pre 6.84, I think, was when they reworked him, or maybe 6.82. Maybe 6.83, just because I don't want to... if it was there and I was splitting the difference, it would be embarrassing. It's good, but you don't really want to go it super early, and you only go it if your team doesn't have any invis already, because, like, one of the problems with this shard, I'm going to put it here. Let's say the opponent has a sentry down, and you're PL, and you're in the mix, and they don't know which PL you are. Well, if you use your shard, and there's a sentry down, now they know exactly which PL you are, because only one of them is invisible. So you can actually kind of do the opposite of this shard's intention by using it when the enemy team already has true sight. So you can signal yourself out, which is very bad. So if the enemy team has, or if your team has no invis already, you can pick it up and it's good. It's a nice little, like, now you have to buy dust, and maybe you'll get out of jail free once with it before they buy the dust and the sentries to put down in fights. But once they have those things, it's actually a liability, and it's kind of a problem. So it's gonna go in, guys, can we Torm please? Even though you will never get it off of Torm. This, maybe I should have changed the name, because this is just the second to bottom tier. It's just like mid shards. And then the valley is down here, and then the mountains go quite high. There's 3 tiers above this. I mean, if the heart desires is situationally good shards, which are mid by a different metric. This is for Phoenix, his Aghanim shard allows him, it's a boy, to use Sunray in the middle of Supernova, and it also slows by 10%. It's fine. It's fine. It's a Torm shard. You're fine with it. It allows you to kind of turn Supernova into like a bit of a boof defensive option because you can use Sunray during it. So you can Sunray your guy, and then when Sunray's about to run out, while they're getting wailed on by like a Troll Warlord or a Morphling or something, you can pop your ulti, and it keeps the party train going. And then also you're in Phoenix ulti now, so you're splitting attention. Phoenix Egg is a defensive option by nature of forcing the enemy team to attack you instead. You know, or there's the take him into the egg thing. The Rock from Primal Beast. I almost said from Warlock, but his rock is a nickname. This one is actually a rock. It was funny because when they added Primal Beast originally to the game, in Aghanim's Labyrinth, you could see him throw the rocks, and then when they added him to the game, it was like, where's the rocks? And then later on, they gave him the Aghanim shard where he throws the rocks, and it was like, yeah, I know those rocks. I know them well. Watch out for falling rocks. It's fine. You know, it's funny because I'm of the opinion that if you can pay 1,400 gold to add a stun to your kit, that's pretty good, and you should do it. But it's a really awkward stun, but it has good range, and it has the rocks that come out behind it as well. After the initial big rock lands, you get those little rocks. Shout out to Arkansas. It's if the heart desires. It can be pretty good. The thing is, you have, like, your Aghanim Scepter is also insanely good. AoE breaks are a very strong thing. Puck makes it so that when you use Phase Shift, It attacks all nearby things, and then also it applies a flat amount of magic damage to your attacks, making it a very efficient way to increase your right-click DPS. It's an okay item to go. You don't really pick it up with the intent of it being a farming item, but if you are going a right-click oriented puck build, especially if you're going for the Aghanim Scepter, you definitely do have to pick this up because it's good. It's also funny. It's funny, just like randomly peppering people. And you can use it as a farming item to sort of like speed up if you're fighting like a satyr camp and you use this. That's 4 right clicks. That would take you a little bit to do. But now you can do it instantly and you hit harder. It's good. It's a good shard. Strong shard. Pudge's shard, because it is no longer the incredibly broken Vor ability, is, I think it was called Flayer's Hook. He had the facet where you would deal additional pure damage based on how far they were when you hit them with Hook, and it meant that you could deal 600 pure damage at level 1. And that shit was so fucked up. I didn't like it. Now it's a shard, so you can only get it at 15 minutes, and you don't go it. A lot of Pudge play these days, you're sort of satisfied to hit them with a hook, not because of the damage that it does, but because of the repositioning. Who would have thought? A lot of your build these days on Pudge revolves around Aghanim Scepter and doing weird tanky things, using the Flesh Heap active, plus a Shiva's Guard and whatnot, and sometimes Spell Lifesteal. I've seen Dag and Pudge this patch. It was on my team, and we won, and I was still mad. That is not advising you to go Dag and Pudge, by the way. I think you're not unhappy to get it. It just doesn't give you any more functionality, and then usually if you hook someone, they're going to die anyway. So I don't see it making the difference very much. Or you hook someone and like now they're in your face and you die. Or you're at the tier 3s and you hook the enemy and then you blink away just to show that you could do it. The more I'm thinking about it, the more this is a roll blow shard. It's pretty bad. Having it as a facet was insane because you could do it right from the start of the game and just instantly kill people. But now it's like, So I had to double check. But Pugna Shard is the spiderweb suck. So you can throw down Nether Ward. It increases the cast range by 350. Bet you didn't know that. And then also you can give it a mighty good slurping, and then it will in turn slurp all enemy heroes that are in a pretty wide radius around it. It's pretty good, and it gives support Pugna a way to deal significant DPS without just being like a heal bot. I think it's in If the Heart Desires. Pugna players will really just decide on their own whether or not to buy it, and then it's pretty good regardless of the game state, because Life Drain doesn't instantly kill illusions anymore. Oh my god, if that was still in the game when it had this, and then like, see you later, PL and Nagasiren. Peace out, Terror Blade. Queen of Pain is the Sonic Booms. When you both start and end Blink, it deals a small amount of magical damage in an AoE, and then it also silences, which is quite good. This is a very situational one. If you're up against heroes with long duration, high impact channeled spells, like a Witch Doctor or a Crystal Maiden, you pick this up so you can cancel it very, very easily. You know, they pick up a BKB or something and it's a little bit difficult, but even if they have a Glimmer Cape, this will still hit them. So it's an AoE silence, which is a very strong thing to have in the game for several reasons. I think because of its power against channeled abilities, oh, you can also do this against Enigma, which is really funny. The shard makes it so that if you're playing as Queen of Pain, you are incentivized to blink right into the middle of a black hole. Whoop, here I go. And then you cancel the black hole. And that's funny. It's very, very funny. It's really a matchup dependent thing. You don't see the damage being that useful for farming. You'll see Quops go Aghanim Scepter and then hit the E button in Q, and then that kind of kills the wave with a couple of right clicks. It's not, the damage isn't meaningful, it's just the AoE silence, which is so good. But it needs to be in specific games. Razor Shard makes it so that Static Link pulls them towards you, which is annoying. I don't think it's that good. The reason why is because Razor, due to his innate, which gives him percentage-based movement speed, is usually faster than whoever you are doing the bad suck to. You're static linking a life stealer and he's running away, and like you are faster than him, if not like equal speed at the worst. You know, maybe he throws his W on you and it's a little bit complicated, but you know, there's ways to deal with that. Being incredibly fast means that slowing the enemy team isn't as good. So I'm gonna put him in guys, can we Torm please? But it isn't bad, you know, it's nice to have sometimes. I can't think of any particular matchup where it's like, nice, we need to get Shard. So there you go. And it slows them. I think it slows. It doesn't suck them in anymore. Yeah, I think that's what it does. Razor Shard also increases the cast range by a meaningful amount. Ringmaster is Spotlight. Ya. Moonlight. Ya. If the heart desires, it is extremely matchup dependent. This ability makes illusion-based heroes cry. Oh my god, that thing I just talked about with Pugna using Life Drain to instantly kill a shitload of illusions would be, like, not fit for the modern game. Ringmaster has that, actually. Spotlight does a ridiculous amount of damage to illusions. It has a pretty solid uptime. It also has upside by just providing vision in an area. It is very, very good against, like, a PL or a Nagasiren or a Terrorblade. Terrorblade hates this ability so much because it takes him a while to build up the 2 illusions that he wants. And if he pops Manta and you throw out an illusion, they're alive for like 3 seconds and then they just die. It poops on illusions so bad. I think you can also use it to cancel blanks. It's got a lot of sneak utility, but you really only pick it up against illusions. But when you do, those heroes are very upsetty spaghetti. Next is Ricky, who is totally after Ringmaster in the alphabet, for sure. So Ricky's is being unable to target allies within the cloud. It's sort of a generic upgrade that you don't care about the matchup for. If cloud is good, cloud is good. But it also reduces armor, which is cool to have a 1400 gold Desolator. I think it's 5 rather than 6, and obviously you don't get the buku damage that you get from buying a Desolator, but just being able to increase your damage by that significant of an amount while also having considerable upside, I think pushes it into if the heart desires. If it was only this, it'd probably be Torn, please, but adding in the armor reduction pushes it up here, I think. It's quite good. Cloud is a very, very, very good spell. Rubik is able to use telekinesis on allies, and then the fling distance is increased. It is not increased on enemies. You can't cliff people from a light year away. I wish you could. It just gives Rubik access to a very strong defensive tool, and as we all know, these fuckers are not buying Glimmers, they are not buying Force Staves, they are buying Aether Lens and an Aghanim Scepter, and if they don't get good spells, they lose. It's fine. It's fine. Cliff your allies if you're mad at them. Sand Kings is being able to, I think every 3 seconds it'll do an Epicenter Pulse, which is nice. It is a fun little thing to have. It is good in team fights. It is good for farming. It used to be based on distance traveled, which was really funky and weird, and it made Burrow Strike deal an ungodly amount of damage. You would see Sand Kings going Force Staff instead of Blink Dagger, or they'd go both, and then you could use Force Staff as like an offensive tool in order to proc like a little mini Epicenter on top of someone. Oftentimes during Epicenter itself, which was quite good. Yeah, if the heart desires. It's fine in some games. If you really need to go all in on your ultimate while also gaining a farming upside, yeah, you can pick it up. Sort of pays for itself, which is nice. And Sand King can farm. Shadow Demon is being able to use your ultimate on allies to give a beneficial purge, and then also it, at the end it heals them. It's a very clunky heal. It can be good. In fact, it can be very clutch, but it is a very delayed heal, and if they die before it goes off, it don't do nothing except for the dispel part, which is good. I think he used his Shadow Poison on me in real life to make me cough. Shadow Fiend. Shadow Friend. This makes it so that when you hit Shadow Rays on enemy heroes, it reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds. The cool thing about it, well, first off, if you're doing physical, you don't give a shit. If you're doing magical, which is much more in vogue right now, I think it's, like, good. You pick it up, I think. The thing that really makes it cool is that, in theory, if you are able... the cooldown is such that if a Magnus gets a 5-man RP and you are in range to hit a single raise on all 5 enemy heroes, you can just mash the button. You can just, like, boop, 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 and if you have a Kayasha, you can really mash that shit. And you will get a rampage. That shit never happens. If it does happen, send it in. I want to see. But being able to just reduce the cooldown of it in fights when you're really relying on Shadow Rays, especially in the mid game, is very good. You do have a shitload of other items that you want to go. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I think it's like, guys, we can Torm, please. Because you're never getting it via Torm first or second Torm, there's no chance. And then like third Torm onward is like whatever. That doesn't really count as a guys give me Torm please. That's just like something to do. You're rushing your Kayasha, you're getting your Aghanim Scepter, you're getting your Blink, you're getting your BKB. You don't have time to go for the shard. But the shard is nice if you like trip and fall on it. If somehow both your supports went Torm or both your supports rush shard and you go Torm and you get it, you're kind of happy. Shadow Shaman. This one is like, you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, so the invulnerability is increased and you can use items during it. That means that you can force staff yourself out, which sounds like it would be good. And like, it's not bad, but like, I never see anyone actually do that play pattern. Compared to the increased utility of a lot of other support shards, I think it's like kind of rolled low, actually, on your support duo. You have a Shaman and Avenge. Which one do you want getting the Torm shard? You know what I mean? Silencer. I needed a sec to remember what it did. Silencer's is Brain Drain, which increases the spell or the insteel to 3, which is good. The problem is it's not retroactive. I think it would be a lot better if it retroactively increased your int, but did not retroactively steal the enemy's int. If they did that, I'd be going it every game. It's fine. You really just kind of want it off Torm, though, and then if you're playing as a... like, the issue is you need to do this, you need to buy this, which doesn't help you kill people, and then you need to kill people, / get assists, which is tough, or have them die under the effects of your debuffs. Which isn't that hard to do, but, like, it's... the days of losing so much into a Silencer as Troll Warlord that you're no longer able to use your axes is, like, behind us. We don't have that as a thing anymore that happens in Dota. It just doesn't. People have way more access, like, you have level 30, so you have more int to gain, right? Stat gain has been buffed quite a bit over the years. There are situations where it can still happen, but, like, it used to happen on, like, Sven, where you can't cast Stormhammer anymore, but that's not the case. And especially because you're only stealing 1 until you get this shard. I actually have a lot to say about Brain Drain and the way that it impacts the game and impacted the game in the older versions of Dota, but I won't say too much here. I've already said a considerable amount. Skywrath Mage is very good. It's up here. And this is legitimately one that you will sometimes drop the 1400 gold right at 15 minutes in order to buy. Up there with Clinkz. And the reason for this, why is AA up here? Whatever. I made my decision. No, he belongs up here. Anyway, Skywrath Mage. So this will multiply your Q, Arcane Bolt, and make it so that when you cast 1, it will also cast 2 more at nearby targets, which is a very, very strong thing to do. The farming capabilities are great for this. This allows you to actually farm a Skywrath Mage and build up your Aghanim Scepter, which gives you a slightly worse version of the same effect on the rest of your spells, and then it only gets multiplied 1 more, as opposed to times 3. You also can't hit the same target 3 times. That would be insane with Arcane Bolt. Wait, Mystic Bolt? Whatever it's called. His Q. The little bird that follows you around and you run away from it at 100 HP and you die anyway when you're a foot away from your fountain. The farming abilities are amazing. The fighting abilities are amazing. And it's so cheap. It's so good. This is a big part of why Skywrath Mage is making a bit of a comeback as a mid laner right now, I think. To medium success. Slardar Shard applies, this is very good, you need to go it eventually. It's not quite up here. The thing that makes it really good is that as Slardar, when you blink in on someone, you have to either use Bash or Slithering Crush, which deals physical damage. And that means that you need to do that, then use your ultimate, and then continue to whack them. That means you're missing out on a considerable amount of damage. But with this, when you use your Slithering Crush, it will apply your ultimate before the damage is dealt, which means that you're buffing the damage and you get the full, like, it makes your kit work without you having to think about it too much. And the reduced durability is not a huge deal. It allows you to flash farm creep waves incredibly quickly, including those in the jungle. It also means that when you're roaching, you use your ultimate to pop the Lincolns, you pop your W, and then by the time it's about to expire, your ult is off CD, so you can use it again, so you can roach even faster. There are many ways that just make Slardar's life easier. And it's an easier and more optimal way to play the game as Slardar if you have a shard. It's great. You need to go it. Best practice for sure. You don't get it at 1400 to 15, and it doesn't completely change the way your hero works, but it just makes everything make sense. It makes your kit so much easier to use to its fullest potential. And it helps you farm. Slark's Depth Shroud is a hilarious ability that Legion commanders hate. That is the primary thing that it is. It instantly ends duel. It functions as a secondary ultimate. You can use it to protect your support duo when the enemy offlaner blinks on them and stuns them both and tries to kill them. A lot of utility, allows you to regenerate from Barracuda, or it's no longer Barracuda because it's not your innate, it's built into your ultimate now. It's a second ulti that you buy for 1400 gold that has a shitload of utility. I think this is best practice. It's not quite a... Well, it has such funny utility, though, because it completely blocks vision, and True Sight doesn't do anything. So there's certain effects that, like, you know, they can still be black holed, but duel doesn't work. It immediately ends if you use Depth Shroud on your ally who's being dueled. It will also instantly end if you use it on your Legion Commander. So if you want to grief the shit out of your LC, you can drop it on them. There is a little bit of grief potential, but on balance, it is godlike. It is such a good... I'm gonna put it up here. The goal is to have about 10 heroes. We're roughly on pace for that. AA is probably the weakest in this tier, but, like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. The rest absolutely deserve to be here, though. Snapfire is the cookie upgrade that turns Cookie into a Mortimer's Kiss. Pretty good. I think it is an important thing to have in your kit, partially just because of the lane push ability and the farming potential. She does not have a very easy time hitting jungle creeps. This allows you to use one spell to kill pretty much any jungle creep, outside of, like, ancient camps. And you throw it on your range creep, and it blasts it towards the enemy melee creep wave, and then the Mortimer's Kiss is there, and it kills them, and you get all the gold and XP, which is nice. There's a lot to like about it. You really want it off Torm, but you will oftentimes see Snapfires just buy it themselves, like bite the bullet and just go, which is great. And it prevents them from getting gobble up faster if they buy it, so they can't grief you as early. Lot to love. Sniper, really important mobility tool. This is a broken shard. I just earlier was talking about, like, Slardar Shard, how you need to go it. This is, you need to go it. You can fuck it up. It is a skill shot, but you need to do it. So this is, I believe it's called Concussion Grenade. So this creates a little bit of a blast point, similar to Flame Break or Blinding Light. Flame Break on Batrider, Blinding Light on Caudal of the Light. With this ability, though, it blasts not only the opponent away, but it blasts Sniper himself away, and it disarms them, and it slows. And you can use it to get over impassable terrain. When you combine this with a Hurricane Pike, Sniper sort of becomes a bit of a slippery bastard. Like, if you can't lock him down while you kill him, it's a little bit of a pain in the tuchus. It's up here. Best practice. You should be going this as Sniper every single game. You should be. Some snipers don't do this. They are wrong. Spectre. This is a great shard to buy and forget to use. It's okay. What it does is it boosts your dispersion value by 50% for a brief period of time by turning it into an active ability. It scales good with the dispersion talent at level 25 that buffs it by 5%, and I think you can make it go all the way up to 27.5% damage reflection, which is good, but, like, the thing about dispersion is, like, the incoming damage is what really matters, and that is a lot of damage reduction. But first off, you will forget to use it, and you can't use it while you're stunned. And then with Spectre, you want to be in there, like, tanking a lot of spells and right clicks for a long time, and this is a temporary effect. It's really not that big of a deal. You can buy it if they have some kind of, like, foreseeable situation where it's really important. I'm struggling to think of any. I'm thinking of, like, Rod of Atos, Skywrath Mage shenanigans, but, like, you have a Manta anyway, so, like, who, like... You know, there are situations where this could be really good, but those situations don't exist. So if they did, it'd probably be all right, but it's not. So it's down here. Spirit Breaker's Shard increases his charge speed by 85, and that's it. That's, you know, it does matter because that improves the damage from his bash, but, like, who cares? It's really not that big of a deal. He's gonna go and roll low. It's just, it doesn't do enough. It is a small buff to one of his abilities that doesn't really change a whole lot. If you're doing those big cross-map charges, like late game team fight, buyback, charge in, yeah, it makes a difference, but, like, it's such a unique case. And the bash damage is, like, not that big of a deal. It's fine, though. He goes and roll low. You really don't necessarily want him. He has Herd Mentality as his innate, which is broken. I might do an innate tier list. Comment if you want that. Storm Spirit's Shard is pretty good in combination with his Aghanim Scepter. So what this does is it grants like overload charges if the heart desires, because I'll explain what it does. So it grants overload charges to yourself and nearby allies, 3 of them. So Storm Spirit no longer has to cast spells in between his attacks in order to make overload work. It doesn't sound that crazy, but the thing is, when he hits level 25 and he gets the bouncing overloads, you can deal stupid damage. You can deal damage that makes you like open up the death report and be like, what the hell happened? And you think that you died from something else, but no, it was Storm Spirit dealing 90% of that damage. Because all of his attacks are bouncing around and he's got multiple of them, and you're stunned by an AoE Electric Vortex because he has an Aghanim Scepter. It allows you to like 1v5 in a team fight. It's so good. The thing is, if you are not going the Aghanim Scepter and that talent build, which not every Storm Spirit does, I think you should. I think that's the good way to play him. It's not nearly as good. The cooldown leaves a little bit to be desired, and then if you're using it to farm, you're going to be casting spells in between anyway. Like, you're going to be dropping Remnant in order to farm the creep camp and then gain the overload charge stack anyway. So it's a little bit redundant unless you're going that specific circumstance, but I'm telling you, if you're a Storm Spirit player, build for the Ags and the Shard and the level 25 talent. You will confuse yourself with how much damage you deal. God forbid you have a Parasma. Sven, his Shard gives him a baby version of Warcry at all times, and also boosts the movement speed bonus by 3% at all levels when you actually do use Warcry. And I think it makes them undispellable. It's good. It really comes in handy if you're up against enemy heroes that are able to pierce base armor in some capacity, which is mostly just Drow Ranger and Elder Titan. Other than those 2 heroes, bonus armor is like a really wacky stat that might as well just be normal armor. But being able to have it on all the time means that like they can start stunning you and it's okay. You're still providing that armor to not only yourself, but your team. I think it's pretty good in those situations where it is good. It's a bit of a counter to a lot of physical damage comps, which Sven himself can kind of struggle with, because a lot of the heroes that deal a ton of physical damage are agility heroes who also have a lot of armor. So this kind of helps him in that arms race between damage and physical damage resistance. Techies is Reactive Taser, dealing 300 magical damage twice, which is kind of a ridiculous amount. It also allows him to put Reactive Taser on allies. You don't see him go this because they're doing something stupid. I'm going to put it in, guys, can we Torm, please? We've had a lot of these in a row, I think, up here. Not that that matters. If it's really that good, it's really that good, you know? Templar Assassin's Shard expands the range at which you can see from the traps, and it also, more importantly, silences people who are hit by it. I think it also increases max trap count by a certain amount. I don't care. The thing that makes it really good is the silence, and that puts it sort of on par with Queen of Pain, but in a much less threatening way, because you can drop the trap down and just pop it instantly, and it'll cancel a channeled ability, even if they are affected by Glimmer Cape. It's an AoE silence. Those are quite strong. But unlike Queen of Pain, you do not have to, like, put your body on top of them. But the thing is, you kind of wish you could do that, which you can as TA if you have an Aghanim Scepter, but like also that's too much gold and that's a different item. It's sort of a side grade to Quops. It's a matchup dependent thing, and you don't mind getting it against other. But even if you aren't in that situation, it's still good. Quap gets AoE damage, she gets improved range off of the traps, which isn't hugely relevant because you tend to put them at like pressure points on the map, like staircases and rune spots and inside of Roche and things like that. So you don't care too much about the expanded vision. You're not getting that much out of it, but just being able to cancel channeled abilities from a distance is very good. Matchup dependent. This is Demon Zeal for the #1 Demon Zeal enjoyers. It's bad. You have to pay 20% of your max HP, not current, and you get an attack speed buff. You know, it can be good when you're doing those siege situations where you just want to like blast to tier 3 in like a couple seconds and like that's cool. But like you could also just buy items that help you do that. And you don't mind, like Metamorphosis's duration is such that you don't necessarily mind having to sit there for like multiple, like 2 creep waves in order to do it. You don't care. First one is fort, second one is to actually go for the throat, and that's fine. You can wait that out. So I think it goes here, but there are situations where it is good. But it's one of those, you do buy it before you start buying Aghanim's Blessings and stuff. Oh wait, you're playing Terrorblade. You don't buy Aghanim's Blessing because it's shit. I talked about it with the DP one earlier. Tidehunter, oof. Buddy baby boy, up in the very top tier, no questions asked. It is such a frustrating thing to have cast on you. This sort of leash effect that also massively reduces your movement speed is such a killer, and it gives Tide such an interesting niche against high mobility mid laners. We were just talking about Queen of Pain and how strong that is. If a Queen of Pain and a Tide have a shard, Tide uses shard, Queen of Pain shard now doesn't work. Incredible. Being able to lock an enemy hero down and force them to sit there and right-click the anchor, which Tidehunter, if he's good, can park his fat ass on top of and make it hard to click. You gotta start like, let me angle the camera so I can click on this anchor. It's really frustrating to deal with. It's very good. It's very, very good. It's a mostly unique effect because the other leashes in the game tend to have a very set limit on how long they can last. This thing is like 10 seconds long if they don't deal with the anchor or pop a BKB or something. And even if they pop a BKB, they just start running around. The anchor still follows them. I mean, there's ways to deal with it outside of that, obviously, but it's also like undispellable. You can't manta it off, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's a crazy ability. Tide used to just have like a shittier version of Lion Stun, and we all thought that was broken. And then we were like, oh, thank God they finally got rid of it. And now we've realized that Dead in the Water is actually by far the better ability. God, you just drop it down on like a Bloodseeker or a Leshrac, because they're right in front of me, and like they can't run around now and do their thing. It's really annoying. They can't run from you casting Anchor Smash. It's good in a dozen different ways. I could write a poem about Dead in the Water. I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe a haiku. Timbersaw. Timothy Bursaw's flamethrower is like pretty shit. It doesn't do very much damage. It allows him to hit buildings to a minor degree, and that is something he shouldn't be able to do. And I think Valve recognizes the fact, which is why they continue to not buff it. In fact, they just sort of like give it a bitch slap every couple of patches for no reason, even though it's not that good. Flamethrower's ability to deal with trees is not a huge deal, but it is very flavorful. It's a very flavorful shard. Definitely a top-down design. They were like, we want to give Timbersaw a flamethrower. How do we do that? And then they figured it out. It's just that it enables things that Timbersaw himself probably shouldn't be able to do. Anyway, it's fine. You don't usually buy it, but if you get it off Torm, cool. Tinker is Warp Flare, which pushes people away. It's like a boof-ass Hurricane Pike. It's not bad. And in some matchups, you actually really want it, so I'm going to put it here. But you're usually not gunning for it as a Tinker. Like, you're kind of waiting. Yeah, you have other shit to go. Warflare is not usually on the menu for you as a Tinker, unless you're up against certain heroes, where you really need to get them off of you. Tiny permanent Twee. This is a big part of why Tiny is able to be a carry, and even unless you are playing as a support Tiny, you want this, and you want it bad. Support Tinies don't want it too much, but 3 Tiny does, 2 Tiny was, 2 Tiny was, and position 1 Tiny absolutely wants this because it is your farming item. It is a Battle Fury that is better in some ways. The numbers on the cleave are better. You don't get the regen or the damage, obviously, but you're a Tiny. You don't care about the damage, and you get your regen elsewhere. So it's not that bad. But it is, you know what? It actually is up here because of position 1 Tiny. Support Tinies, we're going to kind of cast them to the side for this, but like, as Tiny, especially as position 1 or position 2, you really want this so bad. Well, this is a tier list for the current meta. I'm going to put him down here. Because in the current meta, you're doing phylactery bullshit with the facet that you have. But in previous metas, it has been one of the best shards in the game, if not the best shard in the game. I'm thinking of like Tiny Lycan meta, for example, back at TI10. Shout out to Yetaro. I hear he's pretty good at carry. Eyes in the Forest, Treant Protector. Very good. You should probably be going in every game. it's kind of a pain to farm and you really want it off of Torm, but the advantage that it gives you is so insane. Well, no, they made it a lot easier to deal with too, because you can just right-click the tree. You don't need a Quelling Blade or a way to like force staff through it, through the eye of a needle. Trying to break down an individual tree by force staffing through it is incredibly difficult, by the way. Maybe I'm bad at it. They need to add like pool in Dota so I can practice that more. New addition to Polygon Trainer, or Training Polygon is what it's called, I think. If the heart desires, you probably should be going it, but it's not that crazy. It's not as good as it used to be back when it was an Aghanim Scepter, but of course it's also, you know, a third of the price. So, you know. Troll Warlord is pretty good. You should be going it in every game. The reason why, well, yeah, I'm qualified to talk about this. So Trolls Shard, maybe I've started forgetting explaining what people's shards do. It's fine. Troll's Shard makes it so that when you have fervor stacks on people, you gain an increasing chance to launch a ranged attack at a nearby target that is not the one that you are currently hitting. The odds of this go up with fervor stacks, and even though the attack is ranged, it can proc melee-oriented modifiers. It can do the maim, it cannot root, but it can cleave, which is funny. They used to have it so that it worked on towers, and it was one of the best shards in the game, because you could walk up and hit a tier 3 and no one could approach you without dying. But it's not quite as good anymore, but it is still an absolutely fantastic thing. It boosts your farming speed very significantly, because now with your Battle Fury, you usually only have to hit the small creeps like once or twice. And if you are against certain counter matchups that rely on you just wailing on them forever, like think Tidehunter or Morphling or Abaddon especially, it sort of helps you deal with those, because when you're wailing on them, any allied heroes that they are near will get peppered by your axes and take a lot of damage, and sometimes you will kill heroes on accident as a result. And anything that can kill heroes on accident in Dota is usually pretty good. So Troll skirts into here on a technicality because of being able to kill heroes on accident. Yeah, I'm leaving him there. I'm leaving him there. You go it even if you have no reason to. Tusk is able to create a much deeper Ice Shard pit when he buys Aghanim Shard. That's not why it's good. It's good because it slows. You know, you do want your Blink and your Aghanim Scepter as fast as you possibly can on Tusk, which means that you aren't buying it yourself, but you do like to get it off of Torm. The problem with it, and it's a bit of a double-edged sword because of this, is if you have melee heroes who want to get involved, it can sometimes make it more difficult for them to walk around and hit your target. But it's also a 50% movement speed slow, which they had to add to sort of counteract that downside. And with ranged heroes, it's just pure upside. It's pretty good. Still, Tusk has other priorities. It's a guys can we Torm please sort of Aghanim Shard. So it's going to be in the second to bottom, but it is good. It is good. Underlord Shard makes it so that you can use Firestorm on himself, or I believe an ally, and you can walk around with it, and it makes it go faster. This is actually a sneak downside. Like, because it goes faster, the percentage HP burn isn't as, it doesn't have as much time to go. So in certain ways, it kind of makes the ability worse, but it moves. And if you're a Tidehunter or an Underlord and I'm just thinking big fat bitches, sorry. If you're an Underlord and you're on top of someone and you're wailing on them with your big fat right clicks with your Klingon sword, you are able to also do a bunch of Firestorm damage to them, and HP percent damage, very strong. You just usually don't go it because you have auras to buy, so it's going to be down here. If you get it off a Torm because one of your supports bought a shard already, you're quite happy. It also means that your mid laner isn't doing shit for them to be qualified over you. Undying's Tombstone upgrade shard makes it so that he can cast Tombstone on an ally, which puts in the ally inside them. This is a very good thing against certain, like Fiend's Grip, for example. You can save your ally from a Fiend's Grip, even if the Bane has an Aghanim Scepter, by just chucking them in a Tombstone. Legion Commander Duel is another good example. If they're getting gone on by a Slark, you can do that. If they're getting gone on by a Riki, and they're not in Cloud, and the Riki doesn't have Shard, one of those things has to not be true, you can put Tombstone on them. There's a lot of situations where it's very beneficial to just, like, put one of your allies in, I wouldn't even call it gay baby jail, the way that OD does it, because they can stay in there for a really long time. The downside is that if Tombstone dies while they're inside it, they get stunned for a little bit, which is fine. They can just leave. They can just leave while the Tombstone's about to die, so it's really not that much of a downside. It's pretty good. You can think of it as a little bit like Ringmaster's box, but obviously they can't use AoE stuff when they're in there. It's a good shard. You buy it in highly specific matchups. You can also use it on yourself. Ursa's is weird. I don't know how to feel about it. It's one of the new ones that was changed in 7.40. It used to be that you get a mini ulti for 0.2 seconds, or 0.4. You had a mini ulti when you cast your Q. Now, whenever you use your Q, you instead apply 2 swipes of Fury, or 3 Fury swipe stacks. It jumpstarts the Enrage thing, which does technically help you when it comes to bursting down heroes and increases your like burst DPS by a considerable amount. The thing is, you already had this before they did this when you got to level 20 and you took the talent for it. So it's a bit bad. I haven't played a lot of Ursa. I know that like pro players think he's good, and he still is seeing some play in higher MMR matches, like on D2PT. I personally think the hero is dead. I am wrong, but when I'm on the draft screen, baby, I'm right. I haven't played with it much. I'm gonna put it in Guys Can Be Torn, Please, but it could be in If the Heart Desires. I'm not 100% sure. Venge, great. Splendid. Splendid. Venge's Aghanim Shard makes it so that when you use Magic Missile, a second Magic Missile will emerge from the person that you hit and stun another person. And I think it has full numbers. It's very good. It takes... earlier I talked about how with Primal Beast, if you can buy a stun for 1400 gold, you should do it. Vengeful Spirit, you have a great stun, and you're getting a copy of it that you can't necessarily control, but I'm sure it'll do work. It prioritizes heroes. And you're getting that for 1400 gold. This is like, this and Witch Doctor are up there for the best Torm shards in the entire game, which I think makes them best practice. I mean, AA, I think it's probably a little bit above, but they are, this is an amazing shard to get, and you should have it every game. And if Torm doesn't give it to you, you should be ready to buy it. It's a great, great spell. On core, it's a little bit undervalued. I think even as core Venge, if you're doing the Aghanim, Scepter, Dragonlance bullshittery, you should probably still go Shard. It's that good. So Venomancer's Shard makes it so that if you dispel Venomous Gale, it will stun you. And that's good. You don't really go it. You don't... It's not that big of a deal to be able to stun someone when they dispel Venomous Gale. I'm pretty sure it also doesn't pierce debuff immunity, so I think that if you BKB it off, it doesn't matter. I think. You know, there are some matchups where it matters, but it's not that big of a deal. It used to be its own ability that you could debuff someone with, and then they moved it to Venomous Gale instead, which I think is better. Venomancer players should not have access to even more debuffs, considering what his Aghanim Scepter does. It's a Guys Can We Torn Please thing. But there are some, you know, Slark. Wait, does it even work on Slark, or does it just immediately dispel both? I think it does. It's... If memory serves correctly, it is kind of shit in any way that it could be shit. Like, it works in the way that you don't want it to as the Venomancer all the time, which hurts it a lot. I don't think it's quite rolled low, though, because it does have some utility. You know, you put it on a Huskar and he dispels himself from your bullshit, and then he stuns himself for 2 seconds, which is funny with Cauterize. Viper allows him to use his poison attack on buildings. Quite good. Being able to hit buildings as Viper is also kind of fucked up, but he's... You know, he falls off hard enough, and he's such an early lane dominator that I feel like giving him this one little bonus is like, okay. Timbersaw when he hits towers. Aw, how sweet. Viper when he hits towers. Well, wait, no. Shit, I messed it up. God damn it, I accidentally complimented Timbersaw. I didn't mean it. So Viper, I think his shard is If the Heart Desires. It is really good for taking high ground because it allows you to use the cover of your creep wave to just put like 6 poison attack stacks on a building, and then like it ticks down like a quarter of its HP, like a tier 3. And then you just repeat the process, and then it's good. I think it also raises the max stacks or something like that. It's fine. I think it's still 7. Yeah, it goes from 5 to 7, I think. Visage allows him to consume Gravekeeper's Cloak to restore 25% of his HP. Smiley face emoji. Problem is you're consuming Gravekeeper's Cloak. So you can't really do it in fights. You can do it if you're like after a fight just walking around, or like you want to siege. You can use this to like give you effectively like a Heart of Tarask style regen, where you just have to wait for it to regen and consume it over and over again. I don't know the cooldown on it. You don't really buy it. It's just, I don't think they knew what to give him as a shard. So they were like, what if he healed? And they was like, okay. Void Spirit, very wacky. Still looks like a visual glitch if you ask me. I feel like something is wrong with it, but I don't know anything about 3D animation. Or I know the tiniest amount of information about 3D animation, so I don't know what they should do about it. It's like a meme that you go on pause for. what it does is when you throw out Aether Remnant, a second Aether Remnant field will begin spinning around in a circle like a helicopter, and will suck people in as if it were the original Aether Remnant. It has a couple of fun upsides, though. It gives True Sight in the area. The thing is, if there's a Ricky in the area, he's going to get sucked up, and now the True Sight is gone. So it's a little bit self-defeating in that capacity. You can use it to deward, which is very nice. That's why you see them up on shrines a lot. And it doesn't proc on creeps anymore, which is cool. It'll actually deal some damage to them, but like not enough to really make it a farming tool or a split push tool. It's fine. It looks really weird. It looks like it should be making a siren sound. Guys, can we torn, please? Warlocks is pretty good. It used to be better. I think it's now if the heart desires. What this does is it makes it so that upheaval will constantly spawn those shitty little imps that walk around and explode, and then it also makes the imps stronger. I do not know the numbers for making the imps stronger, but I believe it when it says that. It's funny. The imps know things they shouldn't, so every now and again, the imps will actually like run into the enemy triangle, and you're like, oh, their carry's farming there. And the carry now knows that you know. But maybe they try to deward and they don't find it because there is no ward. It's just the imps somehow have like hacks on. So, there's some funny aspects of that. And then just upheaval is a funny spell. I'm going to put it here. Weaver makes it so that when you use Shikuchi, you will apply... Am I forgetting something about Warlock Shard? Maybe I am. Whatever. Weaver's Shikuchi applies a mark, and then when you get out of it and you use Geminate attack, the second attack from the Geminate, not both of them, will go and hit as a copy of everything that you marked with Shikuchi. It's very good. It lets you instantly farm things very, very quickly. In fights, it's less useful than you might think, because as a Weaver, you don't actually want to be on top of anyone at any given moment. But, there are those magical Christmas land situations where you're able to, like, cruise through a Roche fight and, like, mark 2 or 3 people and then do a shitload of damage. It's not the reason Weaver is good by any means, but it is something you should absolutely pick up in almost every game at some point. It's just you oftentimes go it after BKB. But it is quite good as both a farming tool and it has some fighting applications, but mostly limited. But you can also use this to basically one-shot an entire creep wave once you have, like, Deso and a Chrysalis and all that other fun stuff. It's good. Windranger Shard is Gale Force. It is annoying. You really don't want to buy it, but once you have it, you will spam it in the most ridiculous, useless ways. It's good for chasing. It's good for annoying the enemy team while they're trying to take high ground. I make fun of this spell a lot, but it is actually a genuine, like, it has an impact. Like, if you're a melee character and you're trying to hit a tier 3 and you're getting blown away, your attack speed is basically getting cut into a third of what it should be for the purposes of building damage. Ranged heroes don't care nearly as much, but melee heroes sure do. Wyvern's Shard makes it so that at the end of Cold Embrace, it triggers her Ice Frost... Not Frost Blast. What's it called? The Shard Shatter. The Shard Shitter. That. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Witch Doctor Shard up here. This is probably going to be our final 1415. You are begging your team to go do Torm, and if they don't get it, you buy it anyway. It's up there with, like, some of the other really, really strong support like this up here. Venge as well. There's one other support one that I thought was crazy good. Whatever. Witch Doctor having access to such a strong defensive tool that also does a significant amount of pure damage, which also has half True Strike, by the way. The same, like, weird half accuracy thing that Death Ward has applies to the one on Shard is very, very good. And, it is a little bit limiting because you can't cancel it and they know exactly where you're going to be. But having to just tank a little mini Death Ward that can be upgraded by your Aghanim Scepter can wind up having a ridiculous impact in fights. And because Death Ward can now just hit creeps, you can also just use it to take a stack if you want. The cooldown is a little bit prohibitive, but it is such a good ability, and it guarantees that if the enemy team jumps on you and they can't 100-0 you with a chain stun, you are going to still have some kind of impact in fights and force them to make decisions. And when you force the enemy team to make decisions, they might make the wrong one. This is a top-tier shard. Death Ward is an insane ability, and this gives you a second copy of it that is much worse, but it also keeps you alive. Top tier. Top tier. Only 2 left. Wraith King's Shard is very matchup dependent. It entirely depends on if they have mana burn and if they're willing to use it to the degree where it interacts with your ultimate. Wraith King's Shard makes it so that your ulti no longer has a mana cost. And it also makes it gives you a small damage boost during the time that you are a ghost after you die, where you can still beat people's asses. That doesn't really matter. You buy it when the enemy team has Anti-Mage, Lion, other ways of sucking your mana, Nyx Assassin, and they're willing to use it on you, which is an important distinction to make, because if they're not willing to use it, it doesn't matter. You also go this for when you're going Refresher, just to make sure that even post-Refresher pop, you will still have enough mana to use Reincarnation. Because, you pop Refresher, that's what, 350 mana? You stun, you pop Skellies, there's other, maybe you use Abyssal. There's ways to spend mana as this hero. So having Shard just gives you the guarantee that they can't mana burn you, and you can't mana burn yourself, because that's embarrassing. Zeus Shard, I think, is also pretty good. Maybe we did get a little bit more lenient as we went on. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nah, maybe. Anyway, Zeus, this gives you Lightning Hands, which is a toggleable ability. You can turn it off, which I had complaints about with Darkseer, but with him it's fine, because you leave it on forever. Or similar to Splitshot and Gunslinger. Whenever you do a right click as Zeus with this shard ability turned on, you get, I think, a half damage version of Chain Lightning that follows suit and does a bunch of damage, which is a very good thing. The primary reason you pick this up is because Zeus, he has a shitload of int and you buy a lot of regen, but you still have mana problems because your costs are so high on your ulti. And you need mana for the big moments, right? You can't be caught lacking. You need to be able to use your ulti Nimbus, Refresher ulti Nimbus, and then Lightning Bolts afterwards for the road. So this allows you to keep your mana pool very high at pretty much all times while still farming quite efficiently. Zeus's right click is good. It's kind of weird. It's not good enough to do right-click Zeus. That was a thing for a while because of Lightning Hands. They've nerfed it. I think it used to do 70% damage, so they've nerfed it significantly. I don't know if it still applies on Mantas. But yeah, it is a very, very good farming tool, and you should be going it the majority of games. In fact, I'm tempted to move it up to best practice. I'm going to move it up here. So there you go. Those are all the Aghanim shards of Dota 2 ranked. We have 10 heroes in the very top tier. These are guys that you really want, like you need shard on, and you need it pretty much every game. Many of them will actually save up 1,400 gold, so they can buy a shard of 15 minutes exactly. There's a couple heroes that are like that here for sure. Chen is sort of one of them. Clinkz is absolutely one of them. Skywrath Mage is one of them. Witch Doctor is screaming and begging his team, crying, kicking his shoes in order to get Torm, and then if he doesn't get that, he does this. Other heroes have to get another item first, like a Radiance or that kind of thing. But these are all heroes that should be going Aghanim Shard every single game, and they should be getting it early because of how powerful it is. Best practice is heroes that absolutely should be going Shard pretty much every game, but they might not be as good or as necessary as the ones up here. Their shards are usually things that improve their existing gameplay rather than giving them new options. These are just heroes that probably should be going Shard 90% of games. If the heart desires is matchup dependent, where it's very strong in that matchup, or it's just up to personal preference and playstyle, or there's like a certain kind of build where you really do go with Shard, but other kinds of builds where you don't care. Pugna's a good example of that last one, being able to suck through the ward. Guys Can We Torm Please are heroes who are happy to have it, but don't necessarily want it and do not build around it. There's also a couple heroes that I'm not familiar with their shards right now, Ursa and Brewfriend. They went here because I don't know what I'm talking about. And then rolled low is you did Torm, and the hero who is worse to get it on your team got it. So you have to pick between like the average shard or this from your Torm pop. It goes to this hero and you're sad because you rolled low. So yeah, these are shards that are like bad. these are just shards that are like bad or don't do anything or like aren't suited to the hero that they're on. And some of them just like barely do anything. Like Spear Breakers is a good example. It slightly increases your charge speed. Who cares, dude? These are heroes where you're buying Aghanim's Blessing and upgraded blinks before you go shard. That's another way to put it. So, thank you very much for watching, and peace on planet Earth.